Welcome to the Coda podcast. I'm Rue from Rue Films, and today I'm thrilled to welcome the whirlwind that is Alfie Wright from Clique Visuals. Alfie's a powerhouse in our industry, shooting and delivering high numbers of weddings each year, with lots of travelling thrown into the mix. He's tackling an incredible 15 destination weddings this year alone. He's all about pushing your limits, from packing bags at dawn for those overseas weddings, to delivering a polished final cut in record time. But it's not just about volume for Alfie. He believes in the power of in-person networking, building real relationships that lead to referrals, collaborations, and lifelong friendships. And he's never been shy about leaning into his own personality, using authenticity as his superpower to connect with couples and collaborators alike. In this episode, we'll unpack Alfie's secrets to sustainable volume, the art of genuine networking, and how embracing your true self can set your work apart. Let's dive in. Alfie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So good to have you on, mate.
Now then, Rue, I'm buzzing to be on, mate. I'm going to be on my best behaviour for you. Try not to offend anyone or say anything too bad or incriminating.
You be yourself, mate. You be yourself.
Whoa, don't. You might regret saying that.
But that is one of the reasons I did want to get you on as well, because I feel like you as a videographer and are very much unapologetically yourself, right? Would you say that's a fair assumption?
Oh, yeah. One of my other friends who's a videographer told me I've got main character syndrome, and I sometimes need to tone it down a bit on wedding days because the bride should be main character and not me sometimes. You know what? I just love going to weddings. I love everything about my job. I've done some really rubbish jobs in the past which I've not enjoyed, but I just feel like dead lucky to be involved in this and get to go to so many amazing events and just be part of it all. And yeah, I just love it, mate.
It's almost impossible not to get carried away on the wedding day, I find, because I feel I'm similar myself. I'm just so excited on a wedding day, like just buzzing, because I just like being around people. And on a wedding day when people are just generally massively excited as well, you feed off that energy, don't you? And it's just a great combination.
I mean, I've been so busy as most people have since like COVID and lockdown, and it's just been a whirlwind, and I've not really had time to sort of look back and reflect. And there's been moments where, like, there was one time last year where I'd been away doing a wedding in Cyprus, and I was with my mate Ben from Beluga Weddings, who's I'm probably going to mention quite a bit in this podcast because he's brilliant and we've done a lot together. But
good lad, he was at Coda.
Yeah, honestly, the nicest guy and so bloody talented as well. But we'd done this wedding and we'd been like a boat party the next day and like sunset boat cruise, and we're just coming back on the boat and everyone else were at the back and they were just me and him at the front of this boat and like just laid on the front of this boat as we're boating, cruising. I don't know, is that the right word? We were boating back into Cyprus to the harbour, and we were both just sat on the front of the boat, just like looking up at the stars and just like chatting about the year and just different things. And it was just really, really nice. And that was like a bit of a pinch me moment where we were just like, yeah, having time to reflect.
You're like, we're getting paid for this. We're getting paid to be boating on this boat.
The amount of times people, like when you're on a destination wedding, people go, you get paid to be here? Like one hand on the camera, one hand on the lager, and I'm like, yeah.
It is amazing, yeah, absolutely. We can't take it for granted, can we? We can't.
Yeah, although I do need to make sure I don't look like I'm having quite as much fun on my socials, because my partner at home with 3 children keeps seeing them. She's like she calls them holidays now rather than work trips, and it's like, yeah, it is what it is.
I always have, like, I'm going to out myself a little bit here. I've got a FIFA club with some of my mates, and we play FIFA clubs. And on a Sunday, my mates that I'm playing with in the team, they're like, "Oh, I got work tomorrow. I can't believe it." And I'm absolutely buzzing. I love those Mondays, getting into the office and just cracking on with some work. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things. I can't take it for granted. I've got to appreciate what an awesome job we've got. Yeah, and our job here is to try and get other people in the same position as us, man, in a job that they love, right? So let's get into it. Let's get into your business.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty. So how many weddings do you shoot on average each year?
Not quite as much as Matt from PS Visuals, but still quite a lot. Well, I genuinely thought I didn't know anyone who really shot more than I do, and then I heard his numbers. I'm like, bloody hell, mate!
Was it 160 or something? 160 was it? He did last year or something like that.
Definitely over 100. Definitely over 100. A lot. So since like COVID and lockdown, I've been sort of averaging around 60 or 70 a year. But
wow.
I used to. So when I first started doing weddings, I did photo or video, and I used to take bookings on for both photo and video, and I used to get like a friend, an associate, to come with me, pay them the day rate to shoot the photos, and I'll edit both. Coming out of COVID lockdown, the first year I had Dan Watson made to last wedding films. Like,
Legend.
Great guy. Yeah, absolutely brilliant guy. We've had some good times, and he'll probably get brought up again in this somewhere as well. So that first year, he was like my associate shooter for photos, actually.
Was he?
So, yeah, honestly, incredible photographer. I would then do all the editing myself. So from them 70 weddings, I had like nearly 70 photo galleries and 60 films to edit.
Good Lord.
And that's been the same for the last few years until January last year. I made the decision to stop offering photo and just be a videographer, just be me being video, because obviously Dan just went exploded and were really busy, and he was never available for me. And then I started using Ben from Beluga Weddings, and he's just doing the same, just exploded. Obviously down to my great mentorship.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, everyone I've used has just become really busy, and I'm charging a lot more money now. I don't want to find someone else. I also want, I think short-term loss, long-term gain is that if other suppliers know I'm just a videographer now, photographers, I'm hoping, will refer me a lot more with the confidence that I will try and steal their photo booking. So that, I've found that obviously I'm not making money from the photo side of things anymore, but a lot more photographers are referring me, so I'm getting a lot more inquiries coming, and at higher budgets as well. So yeah, so like this year now, I've only got about 40 bookings, which is a lot less than I'm used to, but they are at a higher price as well. So I'm making probably same amount of money as doing the 60, 70 before, which is the dream, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, that frees you up, because I've been in a similar process. When I originally moved over, I did take quite a few bookings that were both like combo packages, I call them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, by the time you come to that, I always do the photo edits quick, early doors, get that to them, so they got something, and it gives me a bit of time to put the video together. But it's almost brutal going back into a wedding for a second time to do the edit, that you find.
I'm glad you've said that. Yeah, I mean, not all weddings are the same, are they? And like maybe your top 20%, you're excited to go back to, but most weddings, when it's local venues, you've been there a million times, revisiting the same wedding to then have to edit video after you've gone through an entire photo album can be quite, it's pulling teeth sometimes. Like, oh God, they're like the same shots, I'm having to re-edit the same things. And it took a lot of the joy out of it, to be honest,
And it's nothing against the weddings themselves, is it? It's just a case of like, I think in this industry, we're in it because we just love the creativity and like the kind of how the job changes, and it's fast. But when you have to edit at the same wedding day twice, for some reason, I don't know why that feels so brutal.
But also, I feel like I lost out on a lot of the networking as well. Like, I was working with the same people every week, which when you're working with a mate, it is brilliant because you're both on the same wavelength. You can just bounce off each other. You know your routines that you do when you go for like couple portraits. You work, you've got the same sense of humour. Like, we'll finish off each other's sentences and stuff like that. And that's brilliant. But I love getting to meet new people. And every time I meet someone new, they always end up, new photographers, they always end up sending me referrals and then, say, oh, this person recommended you and that. So I've probably missed out on all this networking in the past and lost out on loads of inquiries from that side of it. So that's one thing I am looking forward to doing going forward.
Now you've got your focus on video and you can put all your efforts into that. And here's a question I've got for you. Very specific to these combo packages. When you've delivered your photos and then you're doing your video, do you find that there's certain parts of the wedding for the video that you don't need to include because you know you got that covered in photo?
No, I've never looked at it like that. And
I mean, I don't mean as in not shooting it on the day. I mean, when it comes to the edit, you think, oh, I need to put this moment in, but you think maybe I don't if it doesn't quite work because I've covered it in photo.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I've never really, I might have done it subliminally and not really had that thought process, but I've just kind of done it unintentionally, maybe. I mean, there are little things, like when you take a photo of the bride's dress, for example. If you take a photo, you always do it portrait because it's just like, and that's a hard shot to get on video because you always end up with so much empty space either side. So the room has to be really tidy to get a good dress shot for video. So like little things like that, sometimes you don't include in video because I like static items. I still get the flat lays and stuff like that, but just don't go to town on it. And I've never been like a big detail-y person. I have got better at it and tried to, you just try and shoot everything, don't you? But I think having done photos has helped me a lot when I'm working with photographers then as well.
Yeah, you know what they need at certain points of the day.
And just being able to communicate with them in a way that's going to help them and me at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can go up to them during speeches going, why on earth are you photographing this? Sit down. Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. Oh, God, I had a photographer last year that shot everything like really long focal length throughout the day. Like, so when we get on to like talking equipment and that later, I am normally quite in the action, wider focal lengths. And they were shooting everything like 70 to 200, 85s. And then when it came to speeches, like that's when I sort of put all my tripods at the back on longer focal lengths. They were like, stood in front of the top table with like a 1635. I'm like, you've just done everything in reverse. What are you doing? You are literally in all the guests' line of sight, blocking the person doing the speech. I'm like, what are you doing? Just come back and use your other lenses.
Oh man, yeah. I had it when I was a guest at a wedding, and you can't help have a little nosy at what they're doing, can you? And there were two photographers, and they both stood either side of the top table, blocking any view of the table, and they didn't move, and they just must have been popping the same photo after photo from those positions. I'm thinking, where's your self-awareness, man?
But if you're doing a speech, how much is that going to be putting you off as well?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's hard enough as it is.
So let's go into package. It'd be interesting to kind of almost backdate, and if you can talk about your pricing as well on the combo packages,
yeah,
as well as what you've moved into now when you're video alone.
So with my packages, so currently I have about 10 versions of the same brochure with all different prices. So I don't put anything on my website. As soon as a job comes in, I'll price it dependent on the job. So my sort of average price for a video right now would probably be around the $3,000 mark for like your standard package of like your main film, speeches, ceremony.
One shooter,
just myself. But then I've got brochures that go up to like $4,000, but also come down to like 2 and a bit. If an inquiry comes in like midweek in Feb, they ain't got the budget. They're not paying $3,000 plus. But I'm also happy to do lower priced weddings when I'm quiet and I ain't really got anything to do and it's a bit of extra money throughout winter. So I'll send them that brochure. If there's a bit of travel involved, I can be like, oh, it's that brochure. You know when you like going to buy something and it says underneath, not including that, and then it adds it on, and you're like, as soon as you see a number and then it adds something on, it just looks more than it is.
Yeah.
So I don't like it when I say, oh, that's the package, but then I want 200 quid travel. People must think, I'm giving him $2,500, like include it in the price. So I always like, that's the price.
Yeah, it's a great shout because this is a big thing as well. When people put travel on as an extra cost, couples look at that and they're thinking, oh, well, I'm wasting £200 on just getting him here. I might as well get someone local. Whereas if you include it in your price as one big fit, and just say that is my price, exactly. They don't realise that there's 200 quid being lost just to travel. They think that's being added to the value of the film somehow.
Yeah.
So it's well worth doing that. I do exactly the same thing. I have a travelling brochure and I have like a more local one, just so I can avoid that whole psychology of putting them off me for the travel fee, which is no value to them whatsoever. Yeah. So my brochures go up in increments of 250 quid. So I can be like, I'm going to go with that one for this. And you could argue that, so if a Saturday in August comes in at a really expensive venue, a really nice venue, I'm going to send a higher price brochure. You could argue that, oh, but you're ripping them people off because you charge someone at another venue, at another day, that price. But I'm like, no, I think my work is worth that much, like the higher price value. But to me, I'm like, I'm giving them a discount. I'm not giving you a higher price. That is my price and you're getting discount. But for me, so one of the best, most expensive venues in North where I am is Grantley Hall. That couple might go and get 5 brochures from 5 different videographers, and it might be like $4,000, $5,000, $4,000. And if I go in at that $2,500 again, they're just going to dismiss me straight away because they're going to think, oh, he's half price at others, he must not be good enough, without even considering the work or anything. So I always want to make myself competitive. I always want to be in the conversation. Ideally, I would love to be doing $5,000 bookings every single day, but it's not realistic for the numbers that I would like to get. I mean, I would love to do a good amount of those type of weddings, but I'm happy doing $2,500 to fill out the year as well. So how do you work it in terms of your numbers? Because you're doing big numbers. So are you looking, is there a figure that you want to hit in terms of income? Or is it just what you can just fit in and manage? Yeah, I mean, everyone's circumstances are different. We have different, like I've got a family to provide for, sometimes, there's younger people who might still be living at home, they haven't got expenditures, bills to pay. So we are now like one income family. We've got 3 little boys. So I'm still paying off debts from COVID as well because I'd only been self-employed a little bit of time before then.
and built up some debt just to get through because we didn't really get any financial help, which that's another conversation altogether. But I don't know, I've always got this constant anxiety of not having money. Me and my partner, we both come from like working class backgrounds, working class families. We haven't really got anyone who could help us if we had financial struggles, really. I've had to lend my own parents money in the last year, and we don't have a backup. So I've always got this, an anxiety, just like I've always got this worry that I need to just keep working as much as I can just to make sure I've got enough money, because I've been scared, really. And I mean, the last job I had in sort of 2017, 2018, while I was still getting going with the camera stuff, it were like loading concrete pipes on trailers, and it were like 60 hours a week. It were a grueling job, and long story short, I were like getting bullied there by this 50-odd-year-old steroid head, just making life a misery while I was there. And I obviously reporting him and stuff, but the management just mishandled the entire thing, tried to get rid of me and like give me a 1 week's notice. Long story short, I ended up getting an unfair dismissal and like $6,000, which went into a Sony FS5 Mark II.
Oh, good man.
But it was the best thing that ever happened like that, because it pushed me into the weddings and working on the cameras and stuff. But like, I always look back and I'm like, I can't go back to doing that. I just can't, because I love what I do so much. And that's probably why I work so hard. Like, it has become an obsession. Oh, Alfie's monologue here, he's going strong. But no, it is an obsession. I work my bloody arse off, and I'm literally like in the office from like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning after kids go to school. When they come home, I'll have an hour or two with them, we'll have tea and that. But I'll come back in office afterwards, and most nights I'm in here until 12 o'clock earliest. Like, if I'm in with an edit, sometimes you get your game face on, don't you? And like, you're going away and it might be a really good one. You're like, oh, I've just got last section to do. If I just keep working for another half an hour, I'll get it finished. And then you look and it's like 2 in the morning and you're like, oh. And I think I'm doing really well, but I know it's come from hard work. Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with this now. I've just gone off on one. Sorry, Roo.
No, that's good, man.
I forgot what the question was.
So it's a case of you want to, as the business is doing well, you just want to kind of double down on that, because you're thinking you don't know how long, you're worried that you don't know how long this could last. You want to make sure.
What's that saying? Make hay while the sun shines, or something like that. And I am very determined, and I'm really driven in that I'm competitive. Like, I suppose it's like a blessing and a curse being super competitive. Like, when I'm playing sport, I love playing football still. I hate losing. I want to be like the best at when I do something, and that really does drive me. Like, I look at other people's work. If I ever see anything that I'm thinking, how's they done that? I'll go and learn, I'll go and do it, and I'll make sure I know how to do it for my next wedding. And like, I want to be the best. Like, I mean, there are things that we might talk about later that I'm sort of looking to improve upon this year and learn and make myself better. Yeah, I just want to be the best at what I do, really.
So do you know your limits, though? Is it a case of, like, for me, for example, I know that I physically can't do much more than 30 weddings based on my workflow of editing and the time it takes if I'm doing it all myself? Or is it for you a case of you just take it in and see how it goes?
Pretty much that. I don't know if that's a good bit of advice, but no, I literally just do as much as I can. I mean, if I can do, like, the last couple of years, where I've gone to nearly 70 weddings and I've edited 70 photo albums and 60 films. I mean, that's a lot. That's no outsourcing of editing there. Wow. And I had everything done by the end of January, and I'd like a month and a half off before like the weddings kicked off again. I mean, I still had a social life. I still go out. I still went on holidays and stuff. But I maybe could have spent a bit more time in the summer just like playing in the garden with the kids, and maybe put some of that editing off for the colder months. And that's what I've done this year. But now I'm stuck with about 20 films left to edit still at this point.
Oh, really? And what's your turnaround time? Generally, what do you tell your couples?
I'm always very informal with everything that I do, and I always openly discuss everything with them. And, I always tell them a rough guide, obviously, but I'm like, look, if you don't hear from me, just drop me a message, just drop me an Instagram. I can tell you how many I've got left. I can give you a better ETA. And every now and again, when they'll say, I'm just dropping in, just want to know how we're doing. And I'll just say, I don't know, 2 months or whatever, I think. That's it. Easy.
Oh, man. Like, the idea of that message gives me so much anxiety, though. Like, I don't know what it is. Do you know when they come in, just checking in, that those words send a shiver down my spine. But you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, because I'm so informal with everything, and I really the way I chat to bride and grooms is super informal, and they become really informal with me, like we are mates, and I get bride and grooms commenting on my posts all the time, and probably some of the stuff I post on socials is a little bit informal, shall we say.
I do want to get into that in a bit, absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, the most anyone's ever really waited is about 4 months. I did have one person complain this year when it got to 3 months, and I had a message, she was like, yeah, I think you're taking piss now. I've had 2, I don't know if this, I think she made this up. She was like, I've had 2 friends get married after me and I've had their films back already. So where's mine? And I messaged back, I sent her like the quote of like the FAQs of normal time. I said, normally, most times can be up to 4 months. I'm like, I'm still within a month of what is a normal estimation, but you cannot compare apples and pears. You don't know, like you can't compare one videographer to the next. I don't outsource anything. Then videographers might have outsourced some to that, Fiverr or whatever, and just had some rubbish edited and sent back within a few days. Like, show me the videos, because I guarantee mine's going to, well, our wedding video is going to be so much better than theirs. I know it will be. She didn't have anything to say. She never even replied, which really annoyed me. If she'd have come back and say, oh yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have. I'm just one person at the end of the day. I've got a family. Sometimes things happen, you know, if kids are unwell, and, you know, there's things, life just throws up these events that might take you away from your computer for a few days. People, I think because I show a lot on my family side on socials, people relate to that and can sympathise with it and treat you a bit more like a human than a supplier.
Yeah. Rather than a faceless company, they know that there's a person with a life and a family that's providing for behind that. But you're not putting things in place like kind of editing cues that people can look at to keep informed? Yeah,
I do. I put on my Instagram stories maybe once a week, just my cue. These are the next 5. This is the date I'm currently on. I think as long as people see progress, I think if you weren't putting anything on Instagram or any stories and people don't see you, like you've disappeared, even just for a week, if they don't see anything on stories, you would start to get worried because you've got their wedding day. And if they don't hear from you and think, oh, has something happened to them? Are they all right? You don't want to give them any worries at all. And you just keep showing, I'm ticking along. Just keep posting on your stories. Today I'm on this edit. Next day I'm just look at this I've just rendered out. It looks amazing. Just keep showing progress all the time. And I think that's all people want to see. As long as they see you ticking along with it, that's it. Yeah.
If you are still delivering your wedding films on a USB or struggling to find a sleek professional way to showcase your work, it's time to upgrade your delivery experience with VidFlow, the ultimate online gallery for wedding filmmakers. With VidFlow, your couples can watch their wedding films in stunning quality on any device, including their TV, making it easier than ever for them to relive their best day with family and friends. Plus, with custom branding, easy downloads and cloud backup, you get a premium, hassle-free delivery solution that makes you look as professional as your films deserve. I've been using VidFlow for the last year and my couples have been amazed by its slick interface, especially on their TV. It's like having their very own Netflix of their wedding films. You only pay for what you need, and each of my 4K galleries only cost me about £15 and they stay online for 10 years, so it's a complete no-brainer. Join thousands of filmmakers who have already made the switch and try VidFlow for free by using the link in the description. Take your film delivery to the next level. Now let's get back to the episode. Going back, so at the moment, so you're looking at kind of like 40 odd weddings a year, an average around about £3,000, is it?
Yeah, that sort of average. Obviously for destination stuff, like probably about, I think I've got about 15 destination as well out of
this
that,
year, which
is a lot. Yeah, I seem to do a lot of destination. I've had some really good destination ones. I can go into that if you want.
Let's round up the kind of pricing thing, and then let's definitely get into that kind of like. So are you VAT registered then?
Yeah, I am now. So I've in the past, well, before lockdown, I had an accountant, and then during lockdown, I got rid of it because I had no money. I just need to learn and do it myself. So the next year or so, I did it for myself, and then obviously a lot. And I was like, right, I need to get an accountant now, and then he just, they saw everything, changed the light limit company and all that, and so I just leave all that to him now.
So you're VAT registered, so now you need to be earning a certain amount to make it worthwhile because you've got to pay you. Are you on like the flat rate scheme, are you, or do you know?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the whole maths thing now, I just leave to him to deal with. It's like, do you know, this is another thing I could go really into. The fact that you need an accountant just annoys me, because you should just be able to earn what you can and just be like, at the end of the day, that's how much I've earned, that's my expenditures. What do you want from me? Why does there need to be so many different things and like these little, I don't want to say loopholes, but like, you know, little extra things you can do here and there to try and save money, and the fact that you've got to decide whether you want to be a limited company or just a sole, like, why is it so overly complicated? It just really annoys me.
It's a minefield, isn't it? And numbers, I don't know what it is with me and numbers, but I just hate numbers. And numbers don't stick in my mind. Like, I'm a visual person, but if you tell me a number, it won't stay in my head. It'll be gone. The idea of having to do my own accounts, I'll pay whatever I need to pay. Just deal with that for me, please, Mr. Accountant, man.
I mean, the VAT threshold thing, you know, that's been a bit of a thing that a few, me and my friends have talked, other photographers, videographers have been talking about, and it's really... It is strangling. Yeah, it is crippling, and like that threshold should be like £500,000 or £1 million or something, because it literally stems being able to just graft and work if they want to. And I mean, to me, I was like, right, it's going to hurt, but I need to think of it more of a less financially and more of a, I just want to do as many weddings as I can. Yeah, I'm going to lose money through that stuff, but I want to just spread out. I want to spread my Clique Visuals name here, there and everywhere. I want to work with as many people as I can. Short-term loss, long-term gain, so that when I do decide to like drop down, I've got all my finger in all these different pies, and I'm getting inquiries coming from all over. So yeah.
That's a really interesting strategy. So like graft hard for a couple of years, building that network, and then you can always scale back if you need to.
Yeah. I just want to do the hard work now while I've got the energy, while I've got the legs in me, so that maybe one day, a couple of years from now, I might just be able to do 20 weddings at $5,000 a pop, or, you know what I mean? Just that would be the dream for most people. You know, you could do 20 weddings and have it all, you know, work for 4 months a year, and you've got $100,000 coming in.
That's it. But like you say, you're similar position as me. Like you're the sole income for the family. And does your partner, does she work for the business as well, or is it just you?
Yeah, she helps with bits and stuff, you know, but the bloody kids are a full-time job.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. When you got 3 as well.
Yeah, like, and we've got a German Shepherd and an Alaskan Malamute in the house as well, so... Yeah, it's
no wonder you want to go to all these weddings, mate.
Oh, honestly, the stick I get from other suppliers, who I see quite a lot when I'm away at destination weddings, and they see me like living the best life. Like me and Dan, Made to Last, we did a wedding not last year, year before, where we went to Jamaica for a week, and they paid for us to stay a week's all inclusive at a Sandals resort. And
oh my word!
I mean, Dan's a Barnsley lad, and he can drink. Like we were trying to outpace each other, and just for a week we were drunk, and had honestly the best week ever. It was so good. My Instagram stories were on fire that week. But yeah, I got a lot of stick because they were like, your partner's at home with 3 kids and you're there in Jamaica living your best life.
It's just not fair, is it, Alfie? Not fair. So obviously you're sending a message going, oh, it's such hard work in this heat over here.
Yeah.
I want to rewind a little bit back. So when you were doing the combo packages, when you were offering photo and video, what was the kind of pricing that you were on with those?
So my first busy year with weddings was like 2019, where I probably did about 40, 50 weddings. And I can remember going into 21, I did 1 wedding in March, and I'm like telling everyone, this is going to be my year. Oh, I've got some bookings this year, I tell you. But no, so coming out of lockdown, my bookings were all around $3,000 for photo and video. So I was still getting some bookings last year, which were like $3,000 for both. But then I had some like last minute bookings, which might have been like $3,500 just for video. Yeah. So it was quite frustrating, but at the same time, it's also good that you're thinking, oh, that's how much I've sort of progressed over the last sort of 2-3 years in terms of pricing.
For your video packages at the moment, so your pricing, as you say, so your average price, as you said, $3,000, was it? Was that right at the minute?
Yeah.
But then obviously you can knock it down to something like 2.5, whatever, you know, based on what's going on and where the wedding is. What do your package actually consist of in terms of what you're delivering? So
base package is just a feature film, which is normally around 15 minutes, which is just a chronological edit of the entire day, which I can just, you know, throw it together, pretty much chronological, normally about 15 minutes. Then there's like a video of the speeches and the ceremony as separate videos, which is just 2 static cameras with audio. And then I just have like some add-ons for like extra shooters. I have like a social media pack, which is just like a short film, a short edit, and then I can like export it in the Instagram stories format where it might be like rotated 90 degrees or just cropped in, to be the portrait, so they've got something to put on Instagram. I used to just include that in, but then if it were like a wedding where it were a bit of a, a vanilla wedding, I was like, oh, I've got to go and edit a short one now. And sometimes I didn't even post it anyway, they just posted the long one, so I was like, kind of wasting my time here for no reason, so I sort of separated it. I mean, the short edit for me has always been, I do the long edit of everything chronological, that's for the couple. The short edit, I always sort of promoted it as a social media one, but that was more of a my edit.
Yeah. And how long is that?
It could be anywhere between 3 minutes to 6 minutes. It's just, I always saw it as that's where I'm going to get creative with that. The long one, just chronological, it's easy, it's not really that creative. I've got a template that just works and that's what couples see, that's what they like. The short one is where I can just do what I want to do, where I can make something that I think is going to work on Instagram. I can do it in a non-linear fashion. Like, I'm obsessed with Christopher Nolan. He's like the absolute don. And I love how all of his films just mess around with time in like that non-linear fashion. Like, I love how, so Dunkirk, it's got like 3 timelines all running simultaneously, but in different ways, but it just works amazingly. So I love when I do these short edits to like do a similar thing in that I might break the wedding down into like a couple of timelines and sort of do the first shot from each one, then the second shot from each one, just so the day feels like it's progressing, but it's not boring, it's not, it's just chronological.
So you're moving around in space and time kind of thing, rather than following that kind of linear path.
Yeah, because some wedding days, like most films, you probably want to build slowly into this sort of crescendo of like the dance floor exploding towards the end. But sometimes you might, I don't know if you had like singing waiters or like something happening in the middle that's like a bit of a bow, but then you're bringing it down for the first dance to go back up. And I think for shorter edits, works better when you sort of da-da-da-da-da. But one thing I do love to do for my shorter edits is I saw a trend happening over the last couple of years when big films come out and they release a new trailer. They almost do like a 10-second pre-trailer before the trailer, where it's just like bang, 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 all the best shots, and you're like, oh shit, that looks mint. And then it shows you the trailer where it does that slow build up again. But it's got you. And I think with the way TikTok is and all this, where people are just scrolling, if you don't grab someone's attention within that first couple of seconds, you've lost them. If you're opening your video with a 10-second drone shot, I'm 5 posts away already. Yeah. Before that moves on to the next shot. So a lot of my social media stuff, I'll open with like this the pre-trailer before the highlights film, where it's just 10, 15, 20 seconds, where it's like the drop of the song, where it's like bouncing, and it's like bang, all my best shots in 10 seconds straight at you. And I want to catch people straight away so they're not scrolling down, they're like, wow, bloody hell, that looked like some wedding, that. And then it'll drop to the slow shot, the drone intro shot, the sort of the vows, the speeches, all the nicey bits before it builds up towards the end again.
It's a phrase that I learned from Boomer when I interviewed him from Multiply Media. Your short film very much go for the hype sandwich format, don't they? You've got that kind of crazy intro, like literally draws you in instantly. Yeah. But even after that, I wouldn't say you're not then going to use typical, you're not having like piano slow music. You kind of, no, it's still got a bit of pace to it, but then you end it again with a similar structure to how you started it. So it's like an outro in a similar kind of high pace. Yeah. And don't you quite often the same song comes back in again towards the end? Because the ones I've watched, usually it's kind of like for example, Bastille, was it Pompeii was used in one?
What? Yeah, that works so well.
So you have that song at the start with like the fast kind of montage. The film plays out and then you kind of go back to it again with a fast montage with that same song again. That's the structure I've seen in a few of your films.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like, I love films. Like, I've always been obsessed with films, and like next to me, I've just got rows and rows of Blu-rays. Like, even as a kid, I had rows, like just video cassettes. I've always been obsessed with film, and whenever I've looked for like inspiration as like a filmmaker, I don't really look at other wedding filmmakers as such, because I don't think there's many with my style for a start. So like when I was first starting off, it was like a Jane Mack from America who have that sort of just bouncy, that energy, just good vibes. I've always been obsessed with films, and I like sometimes I'll watch a film, like I'm watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and at the end when Like a Prayer comes on and it's like operatic and it's like building up, and it's like I was watching it as Hugh Jackman's top rips off, and I was looking at him, I'm like, my man. But at the same time I'm thinking, oh God, I can't wait to use this song on a reel somewhere, this will be sick. I love really cinematic stuff. Like I've had a lot of couples come back and say, oh bloody hell, that wedding film, it was like a movie, it was like a Hollywood film trailer that just made us look like movie stars and made us look like we were special, made us day, just elevated it to another level of just made it look like the day that you would want to be involved in as a guest.
Yeah. And when it comes to like kind of using music like that, is it a case of do you have to license it, or is it kind of like jumping into that grey area now with reels where...
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows what they're bloody doing with that now, do they? I don't know, mate. I just do it. I've always gone by the method of always ask for forgiveness, not permission. I've applied that to a lot of my business work. Mate, I honestly, I don't know. Everyone else does it, and I'm like, if someone gets in trouble, then I'd have to stop it. But until then, I don't want to be the one missing out. If everyone else is doing it, and you know, I love music, and I mean, for weddings and that, because I love music so much. For my first dance, if it were my wedding film, I would want my first dance song on there. Mm-hmm. I know there's going to be so many videographers going, you can't do that! But, you know, I don't know, mate. I'm just going with it, and that's what I like, and if I get in trouble, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
Because when you have used these songs, like, say for example like Bastille Pompeii, that is right, that was one of them, but it was like a dance remix version, wasn't it?
It was like a Hans Zimmer version that I'm sure it was like one of David Attenborough's, like a Planet Earth thing or something like that.
Yeah, but it's so good. It's like so good.
It's such a good song.
But then when you went to your song in the middle, like, so you had that at the start, then in the middle you went to kind of like, I'm assuming it's like a music bed track or something like that.
Yeah, just, so I've got all songs like that as well, because I hate it when people use music that has lyrics in, and you can hear the lyrics overlaid when someone's doing like a speech, and like, oh God, that kills me. When people are doing vows or speeches, you've got to have like music without lyrics in, I guess, Yeah.
But the transition between the two was so good, because I think, don't you usually have like a riser come in at the end of the intro?
Yeah. So I've got like a few different sound effects that sort of, audio is something that I feel I'm not that good with, my whole audio equipment and all that. And that's something this year I want to really improve upon. Like, I was watching, you must have seen the 1+2 film that has just gone viral everywhere. That one went in Rome with the horribly beautiful couple, like, who were just like, and they nailed the audio in that so well, like the music and dipping out to like little candid moments that weren't vows and they weren't speeches, they were just moments where people were just talking, but like the bride had turned and talked to the camera and just said something that were just really lovely. And I like that. That's something I really want to work upon this year, is just trying to capture a little bit more authentic moments, like real moments. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like the bride and groom in that film were just so brilliant on camera. Most bride and grooms I get, I'm in Yorkshire, are just so embarrassed when you point a camera at them. Like, the biggest challenge is just getting them to just not look awkward, never mind actually say something really lovely, like in the moment. But yeah, it's something I want to improve upon. And sorry, you always ask me one question, I'm just like, sound effects and trying to hide cuts in music. If there's a end of a speech, there's like a round of applause. When everyone's starting clapping, that's always a nice place to do a cut in between tracks, because it just hides that cut. Because I'm not like a DJ. I can't mix up like the beats of songs and all that kind of jazz and seamlessly go from one to the next. It's maybe one day, but I can't do it right now. But you've just got to hide them seams. But yeah, it's the audio stuff is something I really want to learn a bit more about. That's something I feel like I really lack.
I thought you did a great job with the music, how you transitioned in. Because when it comes into towards the end as well, what's your process for building? So say you've got your normal track and then you want to transition into this, the same song as your intro for your outro. What are you doing to do that?
It really depends on the song. Like I was saying, I watched Deadpool and I heard that song. I'm like, next banger wedding film I get, I need to use this song in a reel somewhere. So I already had that song in mind. So I'll always get like the nice bit of speech of the groom's speech, or if there's any nice vows, and try and build the audio first. So I've got my song, I've got my intro, and then it goes down to the slow bit. So I've got any vows, speeches and that, and then it builds up, and I'll try and put the drop of the song to be when that audio from the vows and speeches finish, for the last minute of like dance floor and sort of big shots for champagne spray, things like that, and try and build that audio first with the video from the speech and vows, and then I'm putting all the little clips over the top of it on the top and sort of build it up like that.
Yeah, nice. So the main thing I kind of really want to dive into is the amount of weddings that you're shooting at a good price point. So remind me again, how many was it? 30 this year you're on?
About 40.
Yes, you're on 40 this year. How far out are people booking you? And then also, where are your main sources of these bookings coming from?
So I've got 8 currently for 26 and nothing for 27 after that. I've had one 27 inquiry. Most of my inquiries come from a contact form on my website. I've never paid for advertising. I've never put any money into paid ads, Instagram, boost. I've never boosted anything. I think in the past, a lot of it's been word of mouth. A lot of my couples have been guests at other weddings. Like, sometimes if you're lucky and you get into the right group of people and you do an half decent job, you could end up doing like 6 or 7 weddings off the back of one. I love it when you go into a wedding morning and like already you know all the bridesmaids from like 3 or 4 weddings that you've all done together. And it just, oh God, they're the easiest days because they know what to do, they know what to expect from you. And yeah, it's brilliant.
So majority of your work is literally direct through your contact form. So they're finding your website links somehow or other. Yeah,
but I mean, I think a lot now is starting to come through Instagram, collab posts. Collab posts have been absolutely massive. A lot of the destination stuff I've got is through collab posts. Like, I did a wedding last year at Chateau Rigaud in France.
Oh, great.
One of my favourite weddings. Such a beautiful wedding. Like, it were brilliant. And they accepted a collab post. And literally, I've had probably about 10 inquiries over the last 12 months for that venue in France.
Yeah.
Just through people going on their Instagram, seeing my video, and be like, oh, that's all right. Let's get in touch. So yeah, if you can get collab posts, it's brilliant. I do a few open days as well for the right venues. I've done quite a lot previously at different venues, but I've done some at venues where probably were the right clients with the right budgets for me. So I've gone to some venues, might be like a barn venue, where I'm trying to charge like $3,000 plus, and that venue probably didn't have the couples that were with that budget. So you've got to know the venues that you want to do. So there's, around me, for example, over the last couple of weeks, I've done like Middleton Lodge, Wynyard Hall. I do Saltmarsh Hall quite a bit. Really beautiful venues, and they get a lot of really great couples with good budgets. I love open days. I'll just go along with like a monitor with like my highlights reel on, just showing that. Just bang some equipment out on table, laptop with like Instagram open, tablet with Instagram open. Don't even have business cards, but as people are walking around, their eyes will go to the screen because it's high energy and intense, and it's like, oh, that looks all right. And then I'll just go over and just chat to them a little bit. I don't even chat about my work. I'll just chat about their wedding and have they booked the venue, where else are they looking, and just try and come across a bit helpful and be like, if, before you go, if you drop us a follow on Instagram, you get a chance, you can have a look at the work, go on the website, watch some full-length films, and if you like what you see, drop us a message. But every open day always ends up with a couple of inquiries for the venues and stuff, or even other venues, because a lot of people go to open days but don't even book that venue. They might book somewhere else.
They're doing like a tour of them, aren't they, of these open days kind of thing. Yeah. So that's been quite successful for you, has it, the open days?
But also like they've been quite quiet, some of the open days. But I don't ever look at that as a waste of time, because if I go to the open day and it's quiet and I don't really get speaking to any clients, couples, and don't get anything from it as such on the day, if I just show willing and support the venue, the coordinators, if I get on with them really well, they'll just recommend me to couples as well anyway, because, I'm sort of, my foot's in the door and I just get on with them all.
So are you leveraging kind of in-person networking to a certain extent at each of these weddings?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll probably go on to like how I actually work on a day later on, but I always go to a wedding 3 hours before ceremony just because I like a chilled morning, but also I can do a bit of networking in the morning. I get to chat to the hair, the makeup, I get to go down, maybe spend 5-10 minutes with a coordinator, just building up that bit of rapport, just, asking them how last couple of weeks have been, having a little catch up, just being personable and just chatting to people. I think that goes such a long way, rather than just turning up an hour, 2 hours before ceremony and having to get all your shots like that and not stopping to just chat to people and just smile and, just have a bit of rapport building with people. I think it goes such a long way.
And more so, not even just for like a bit of business progression point of view, just for making the experience better for everybody, because your couples are going to have a much better experience on that day if all the suppliers are kind of like working together and being friendly, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have been to some weddings where the photographers turned up a lot later than I have, and they might have an hour, 2 hours, or maybe not even that, and they've come into the room and they've got to tick off all these shots, and then they've been running around a bit like headless chicken, and you can feel the tension in the room. Everyone just gets a bit more on edge. Like, I always, don't matter if in my head I'm thinking, oh bloody hell, this is going to shit here, like, but you never show it. I am always a presence of calmness on a wedding day and just keeping everyone chilled and relaxed. And even if in my head I'm thinking I need to go get this other stuff set up, I never show it. I'm just, I mean, I get quite animated and stuff when I'm telling stories, but when it comes to just, oh, don't worry guys, we're just plodding along, we're all on good time. And so, but networking, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again.
It's really interesting to say that, because I've noticed that as well, kind of from at weddings where you have like a photographer who's kind of anxious and then a bit kind of erratic. And I reckon I fell into that category in my early days of photography when I almost felt like I was battling the entire day. That wears off on people, and you make people around you anxious and nervous as well. Whereas in video now, I am the same as you. Like, I am the most relaxed person. No matter what's going on in my mind, I just put on a persona of I'm chill, because then they feel comfortable.
Yeah, as a videographer and photographer, you are the two suppliers who were with that bridal party and then bride and groom. You are the two people that are with them the full day, and they will look to you and they will feed off your vibe. If you're erratic, it's going to wear off on them and it's going to worry them and get them a little bit anxious. You always have to be like the calm, you have to be the island in the storm sometimes, the lighthouse. You're the person that they can always come to if they need a bit of advice on what's going next. And that's something I try and do a lot on the day, is probably like a coordinator's role, to be honest, in that, I always say, right guys, you've got 20 minutes before we do this next thing. I'm going to go get some candid stuff. Just have a drink, relax, chill. You don't have to worry about anything, and let the couple always know that they can just relax, because they'll be thinking, oh God, have I got something to do next?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like the way you word it as well, because you're in a way like you're telling them you're going to be doing something at a certain time, but it's more like, rather than, right, in 20 minutes, I'm coming to get you. It's like, no, relax, have a good time. In 20 minutes, when it's time, I'll come and find you. To be fair, bride and grooms have no concept of time on a wedding day, do they? They have no idea what's going on.
No. Yeah, it's difficult.
Destination weddings then. So you got 15 this year, you say, booked in?
I think it's 15. It might be 13, 14, but it's around that number.
Well, either way, right? So double figure destinations is crazy. So how on earth are you getting into that market? How have you managed to get so many destinations?
So the first I did one in France just after lockdown, which was like someone that I knew, someone who's been a bridesmaid at some other weddings, and I knew the family, and she got married at this venue in France called Chateau Le Madamonte, and oh my God, this place looks like Hogwarts Castle, but in the south of France. It was just unbelievable. Bride and groom, gorgeous, like just the most beautiful wedding day you could imagine, right? We've got the sunset, the weather, the golden hour, the shot, like you couldn't get a bad shot. It was just a dream day, really. Everything went so well. And they went through a company called Marry Me in France, and this company, they have quite a lot of planners, like maybe 15 planners who all work for this company, and they cover weddings all around the Bordeaux, Dordogne region of France, loads of different venues. So anyone who's getting married over there, they come from like all over the world, America, England, and if they just sort of make the whole process easy, because I suppose planning a destination wedding remotely could be quite a task, but they sort of take care of all of that. And I went with Ben, Beluga Weddings. He did the photos for me and I did the video, and we did a pretty good job, I think. The two planners that they had on the day really liked us, got on with us. The destination weddings, you have like a proper supplier meal table around the back where you all get to sit down. They put bottles of wine on the table. It's lovely, but you get to sit with all the suppliers for like an hour or two, just chatting and that. It's really lovely. And we got on really well with them. One of them, Pamela, she's Scottish originally. So a lot of the planners are actually UK originally, so English speaking. Got on really well with them. And they've sent me quite a lot of like France weddings now. And I've slowly worked through all the different planners who work for Marry Me in France. Yeah, so I get a lot through them. But I'll tell you this one story, because this will show you why I've got so much grey hair. So after lockdown, me and Ben were doing this week, well, an 8-day period, Saturday to Saturday, we had 6 weddings. And this was because, I mean, when everyone was rescheduling the weddings from the lockdown, I just ended up with a cluster of weddings, a clusterfuck of weddings actually. But I didn't have money to say, look, I think that's too much, I'm going to give you a deposit back. I was in overdraft credit cards today, and I looked at flights and I thought, I could make this work. And then like a month or two before, a Rhodes wedding, which I had to reschedule into this week as well, because there were a bit of a mix-up with the date. So anyway, Saturday to Saturday, get to it, Alfie. Saturday, wedding in Norway. Tuesday, wedding in France. Wednesday, wedding in Rhodes. Thursday, back in England to do one in... Thursday was Harrogate. Friday, we did one in Chester. Saturday, Whitby. Yeah, and we did it, we pulled it off.
You're joking. How did you get from France to Rhodes?
Yeah, so we finished the wedding at France, went home, slept for about 3 hours at the Airbnb, drove to Bordeaux Airport, got a flight at 6 in the morning to Rhodes, got into Rhodes at 11, but we were like backing up at airports, charging at airports. Luckily on the plane we both got 3 seats each and we could sleep for another 4 hours. Got into Rhodes at 11, jumped straight in rental car, got to bridal prep for 12, had a little bit of a wet wipe shower.
Oh my gosh.
Did the wedding in Rhodes, got to about 11 o'clock, so we'd done like first dance, plenty of dance floor stuff, drove straight back to the airport, dropped the rental car off, got a flight home, got into Manchester at like 3 in the morning. My partner picked us up, we came home, we slept for a few hours, and then we had a triple header.
You're joking. I can't even imagine. But you were having to do this because at the time you physically couldn't afford to refund the deposits, kind of situation.
Oh God, I would never do it again.
But what was your backup strategy? So you're coming...
Oh mate, there were no backup.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like backing up the footage.
Backing up the footage, yeah. We had like laptops and hard drives, so we were backing all the footage up to the computer and like external hard drives as well.
Yeah, because that would be my biggest fear, is staying organised during that, because files could quite easily go missing in amongst all that, couldn't they? And
bear in mind, this was like August after lockdown, when all the airports in Europe were having, the stupid long queues and cancelled flights and people not getting on flights. When it were like carnage. That were at the same time. And luckily, we didn't have a single issue. But if we'd have had one flight, I dread to think about it. But
the idea of that on the horizon for me, I physically couldn't handle the worry. How were you with that?
I thought I was going to have an heart attack. Genuinely. I'd be sat, and if I started thinking about it, my chest felt like it was going to explode. Honestly, I was so stressed. But a lot of the weddings that were in there were like people that I'd kind of met at other weddings and were just really adamant on having us. But the flights were there, and I thought, this could work, we could do it. I mean, looking back, I should have definitely tried to book like an extra shooter to just go out separately to the weddings or something, but it would daft me and I would never do it again. But
my heart is racing just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But so the destinations then, so it has been through that connection with those planners that you've got, most of them. But what about the ones that like not in France? Because you're doing them in Italy and all sorts, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't really know. Just come in sometimes. I mean, I think for me, destination weddings look great on Instagram. And I think like when clients go on my Instagram and they go, oh, he's been here, he's been there, he's been here, it must be good. For me, that's like a certificate of approval. Like some people like to do the, featured in Vogue. Yeah, we know you've just paid 700 quid for an advert, really. But a bride will see that and think, they've been in Vogue, they must be good. For me, I'm like, my certificate is for destination stuff. So if people willing to take me to go away to the different place and put the trust in me to do that. I think couples see that as like a sign of a good videographer. And they're not as glamorous as they always look, because like traveling is a pain. Like getting up early hours at morning and sort of leaving your family. A lot of the weddings of the past, like I have done with like Dan or Ben. So I've always had someone to travel with. That's one thing that I'm really not looking forward to this year and next year now, is having to do a lot of that traveling on my own now.
It's lonely, very lonely, isn't it? Doing these.
It is. So I'm not looking forward to that. And I haven't got paid the amount I should get for being away from home that long.
Yeah.
So I always do like a package price, and then like have my flights, my accommodation, all that covered. And I've played about in different ways of how I sort of charge destination weddings. Sometimes I'll be like, that's my number, that's my figure. But then other times, if it's like really far away, like I've got one coming up in the Caribbean in Anguilla. And when the couple got in touch, they were like, oh, we got engaged at Grantley Hall and we wanted to find a Grantley Hall on a beach. I'm like, these guys have got money. And they're like, we're getting married at this Four Seasons resort in Anguilla in Caribbean. I'm like, they've definitely got money. So I'm like, oh, well, this is my package price, but I just want my flights covered and like a few days in the resort in the Four Seasons. So they were like, yeah, that's fine. So God knows what that'll cost for like the flights to get me there and staying there, but they were happy to pay it.
But they're handling that for you.
Yeah. But if it were France, I could just say, that's what I want, because I know how much that's going to cost.
Yeah. And what is that figure for you?
Normally it's around 600-700.
Yeah.
To cover flights. I mean, flights depend on time of year, because if it's like during a school holiday, you've got to know what the flights are going to be.
Yeah.
If it's like August, flights are going to be possibly double. So you've got to work that into your pricing.
I always go with now, because I used to always put like 750 quid on, and I thought that'll cover me, because I'm always thinking parking at the airport, rental car, accommodation and flights.
Always a rental car, always a rental car. It's
got to be, hasn't it? You have to have a rental car, especially in France, because all the weddings are out in like the sticks, well, in all destinations. But I have found recently, especially post-COVID, that I'm having to put £1,000 on my packages to cover my costs, because the price, France is a lot easier. I think you could do France within 500 quid possibly. And a top tip is contact the photographer, right? And quite often we've shared a rental car and shared accommodation, that can bring prices down.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can like car share and stuff like that. Like we had one in France in October, me, Ben and Glenn Ruffhead, a guitarist. I don't know if you've ever met him, Geordie lad. Really nice guy. He flew over as well. So we all shared a gaff together and a car together just to cut some costs.
But what the pricing isn't covering is your time, because then you've got days out of the office, haven't you? And days when you, obviously we'd all be better off booking back-to-back local weddings rather than with a destination.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but again, this is going back to my whole, sometimes you've got to not think about every job as a financial gainer as such. It's more of I'm going to do this because it looks good on Instagram, and I think it could lead to just getting more work coming in. Like sometimes I'm happy to take a little bit of a loss on them just to, I mean, people pay to go do destination workshops just to try and, get something in the portfolio. If I can do the same but actually come away with like a couple of grand in my pocket, I'm laughing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've definitely in the past, like some of my destinations, I've done it at a cheaper price just to, like, you want it on your portfolio, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You want that kind of like your CV to be kind of the fact that people will pay you to go over there must mean you're good, right?
I mean, I worked with a photographer once who had done like a lot of celebrity stuff, a lot of celebrity weddings and stuff. And on the day, she didn't, for this wedding, it was a really big budget wedding, she charged about $8,000 for like this 2-3 days of photographing. But she literally did nothing different to any like $2,000 photographer I've ever worked with. Like nothing different, nothing about the photos were any better, anything. And when people at the wedding were like coming up to me, they're like, oh, have you worked with this person before? Like, oh no, and they're like, oh, they've done this person's wedding, this person's wedding, this person, like naming these celebrities. And I'm thinking, this happened like a few times and no one ever came up to me and said, this person's work's really good. Because to them, it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was they shot this celebrity's wedding. I mean, I've never shot like a celebrity's wedding or done anything like that. But for me, I'd like to think people would go, oh, have you worked with Alfie before? Oh, he goes all over the world. He gets to go do weddings all around Europe and Caribbean, and he's been here, there and everywhere. I think when couples are looking at your page, I think they're going to look, if you've got a celebrity, they're like, oh, this guy must be the shit. Or destination stuff, or just anything like big budget where they're seeing like the function band or like these crazy florals where it's like, oh, these guys must be good if they're doing weddings like that.
Yeah, it's so true. It's all about perception, isn't it?
Perception, yeah.
I don't know if this is a controversial thing to say or not, but whenever I see a celebrity's wedding film, they're always a bit crap, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, Rue, don't open this one now. You're going to get me started here, mate.
So quite often it's who you know, I guess, that gets you into these positions.
Oh, Rue, you're opening up a can of worms here, mate, because you will get me started. Yeah, I see a lot of like these big crazy weddings that are done by a select group of photographers and videographers who seem to do all of them. Oh, these guys must be in with the right planners, and they just seem to get picked to do all of these weddings. And I look at these videos and the photos as well sometimes, and I look at them and I think, what is this? Like, the wedding is a 10 out of 10 wedding, and I'm thinking, if I shot that same wedding, I would absolutely destroy you. I will pummel that video into a pulp. But yeah, you look at it and think, is that the best you can do from that wedding? That wedding was outrageous. Is that the best you can do? And I just think it's so frustrating.
I wonder though, for these bigger weddings, the one thing I always think of, I wonder if they're like so littered with kind of restrictions and kind of NDAs and stuff that maybe the edit has to go through so many changes. Because I've done that in previous jobs where I've worked, where you'd create something, but then people want to get their hands on it and say you can't do this, you can't do that, and by the end of it, you got this product that looks nothing like how you wanted to put out. So I do wonder if that is part of it. But more often than not, celebrity weddings look crap. I'm saying it.
Yeah. So last year, towards the end of the summer, I had a bit of a period where I was just really disheartened with like the industry as a whole, and I was getting really down, spending too much time on Instagram, doing the whole comparing thing, and felt just a bit shit, like almost like I'm pissing into wind sometimes, like because I work so bloody hard, and I feel like I've got like a bit of a niche product where I'd like to think my work stands out a little bit amongst the industry as a whole. And I'm thinking, why are I ever getting weddings like that? Like, I was looking at weddings like these celebrity weddings and like these big budget weddings, and I was thinking, these videographers or these photographers that are doing, they're not very good. How are they getting this wedding? Probably charging double what I would charge and producing that. And I was getting so down about it, and I was thinking, you don't deserve that wedding. I don't know what you've done, like what wedding planner you've befriended here or offered to give commission to, but you don't deserve that wedding. Like, I got really upset about it, and I was like, what do I have to do to break that mould? I feel like being a northerner, like in Yorkshire, I don't, budgets for weddings aren't what they are down south in London, outer areas of London. And like £3,000 for a videographer in the north that's high, I think. There's not many weddings to go around which will have couples that have a budget for more than £3,000, I think, unless you get, your Grantley Halls and stuff. And I was getting disheartened because I was thinking, how do I break into that market? How do I push through that £3,000 barrier? How do I work with wedding planners, basically? I'm like, why do none of them ever contact me? Why does none of them ever go, oh, Alfie's work looks a bit different. Maybe we've got a couple who that vibe would really work with. And yeah, I got really down and disheartened about it. Just, we all go on Instagram and we're floating down and we say, oh God, that looks a right wedding. That's better than any wedding I've ever been to. Why are I getting an inquiry like that? Because videographer's not as good as me. Why are I getting that opportunity, that chance? And it was Ben Beluga. He sat down with me. I was sort of spilt out to him. I'm just really down about it all, really. And he was like, you don't know what people are going through. They're posting that wedding there. That might be, they've had that one wedding. They might never get one like that again. You just don't know the circumstances of things. And it's like just Facebook, for example, looking at friends, you only ever see when they're on holiday. You only ever see when people are having a good time. You don't see the downs to go with the ups. And you're like, you're doing bloody well, Alf. You've got a lot of bookings. You're charging good money. You are getting good weddings. And you've just got to keep chipping away. And you're seeing progress every year. And one day you will probably be there, but you've just got to keep doing your thing. You can't let anything get you down and stuff, because there's people in a lot worse positions. Yeah.
It's that classic thing, isn't it? We compare our worst work to everyone's best work because we're only seeing people's best work, but we criticize ourselves based on the worst work we've done. So if everyone showed their bad stuff, we'll probably realize it's a much leveler playing field than we realize, but it's how people position themselves in the market, because social media is a game, it's a marketing game, and we're putting stuff out on there to try and get new clients. We don't want to put the bad stuff out there because we shouldn't. It'd be bad for our business. So, but then it's hard to then remember ourselves that when we're seeing other people's stuff, we're just seeing the very, very best of what they've got to offer. So we can't really compare it to that.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Absolutely that. Like, I probably only post like the best 20% maybe. I once had a bride message me and say, oh, did my wedding not be good enough to make the Instagram?
How did you handle that? What did you say?
I had to message back. I like, a wedding were really lovely, bride and groom were gorgeous, but just want a venue that gets the type of budgets that I want to work with. I sort of elaborated on that. I said, I'm just really, I can't post everything. There's like a few venues that I'm trying to sort of target with my socials and destination stuff where I can just charge a lot of money really to it. I just basically, and she was like, she said, I'm only joking. She wasn't only joking, was she? She
no,
wanted
of course
to
not. You won't bring it up if you're a joke. Yeah.
But yeah, that were a bit of an awkward one, but it is what it is. You've got to play the game. Like, you can't post everything. Otherwise, you've got to curate your Instagram into a product of what you want to receive going forward, don't you? Yeah.
Show what you want to shoot. So what is your kind of strategy for socials in terms of how frequently you're posting? Do you get quite a lot of work through Instagram? I
do, yeah. Like I said earlier, collab posts are like the big one. I have done like 1 or 2 workshops over the last year as well. Something I've never done before, because when I started doing weddings, the workshops didn't exist. I didn't even second shoot. I never even wanted to do weddings or thought I wanted to do weddings. I just started getting asked to do them. So I've never gone down the conventional route most people do, which is probably why I've sort of developed sort of quite a unique style, because I've never shadowed anyone or been mentored or followed anyone. I've just done my own thing. Yeah, socials. Why do I do this? You ask me a question, I'm just like, go off on another thing. Yeah, collab posts are absolutely brilliant, but also like just resharing the old good stuff. So every time I go to the toilet for number 2 and you sit there on your phone scrolling, I'll reshare an old video but tag the venue and just hope that they reshare it. It just gets me on the venue's Instagrams, but venues I want to work at. Every day I'll just reshare one thing pretty much, and that is my way of remembering to do it. When I'm on the toilet, just reshare an old post to my story and hope that the venue reshares it, because that will get people coming in.
So a post that's on your grid, you're resharing that to your story and tagging them because you want them just to push that out there again.
Yeah.
And you're doing that once a day?
Pretty much, yeah, that's always a good one. But yeah, remembering to tag everyone and like trying to get the collabs in, that's a biggie.
How often are you posting in terms of on your grid, like actual posts, and what kind of things do you post?
When I finish off a good film that I'm like, right, that's something that's going to make the socials, I'll sort of render out a few different versions of like the highlights film, which might be like 3-4 minutes or whatever, in like a portrait format. Then I'll do like a 90-second reel version with like some pop-in music, and I'll do like a landscape version and a cropped version, where you crop in and keep it the right orientation. Just so I've got 3 posts there just from that. If, for example, like I did a wedding at Grantley Hall recently where they spent a fortune on flowers and decor, and like they must have dropped 20 grand on flowers. So I'll probably do like a little reel just of a room setup. Middleton Lodge Fig House, that always looks gorgeous in there. So if it's ever a nice setup in there, I might just do another reel just again of the room setup. I feel like if you do a room setup video, your stylist, your florist, they're more likely to accept a collab on a post like that, for example.
So you'll have a post that literally is just, say, for example, like the flowers or something.
Yeah, I mean, not just of the flowers, but like the setup of the room as a whole, just like a little montage, just like revealing the room. Yeah, just try and create some posts there. So I've got all them videos, I'll just transfer them all to my phone, keep them in a folder. I mean, I can't post 4 posts in a row of the same wedding, but I'll have them. I've got a folder on my phone with all the content. And whenever I'm like, I'll do a post today, I'll just get that out. I don't really schedule anything. I don't do anything like that. It's just, I'll get a post out today, and always try and post sort of early in the morning, so you've got all day to get the engagements and stuff. And when it comes to stories, just again, nothing too structured. It's just whenever I see something, or if I've posted a lot. I don't know if you can see that little green thing behind me, that little mechanical chair that's like, my 1-year-old sits on that and just drives around the office, but he falls asleep in it all the time. So he'd be like next to me while I'm editing, just like turning like this in this chair.
Around in a car.
He'll be like asleep like this. And it's just brilliant. It's hilarious. And I'll just post him because it's just getting engagements on your stories as well. And that just helps push the other bits. I think if you can just, I just want to show me as a person.
I want to go into that quite in detail, actually. I just want to rewind back a little bit. So for every wedding you do, when you're doing your edit, are you then creating social media posts
Content from that,
from every single one?
Not every single one, just for ones that I want to put on the Instagram, yeah.
That fit together for your kind of like future plans, targets, and kind of market that you want to like land.
But like I said earlier in my brochure, I do offer an add-on that is a social media package, which is a couple £100. So if people pay for it, I will do that even for weddings that I don't want to post.
Yeah.
Or if, for example, I had a really wedding and they didn't pay for it, I probably would just make them posts anyway as well for my own Instagram. But at least some weddings I might get them to pay for it. So just making it pay for me. But yeah, it's creating a folder on my phone with all the good content, which I can just, when I'm ready to do a post, I'll just go in there and handpick a bit that's maybe a wedding that I've not posted for a while, or some of the really high-end people just share the same 3 or 4 weddings over and over. Posts from the same 3 or 4 weddings. Like we've both said, you just want to post what you want to shoot. So just, even if you haven't posted, sometimes posting a really low budget wedding on your grid, you might get a few likes and comments and stuff, but it could be detrimental to your image and your brand overall by bringing the Instagram down a little bit. You know, you can't post every wedding. You've got to be a bit more focused with it, haven't you? If you want to move up anyway.
Yeah, me analysing your socials, right? So kind of like the work is obviously, there's a lot of concentration on kind of high-end, luxury, high energy, but fun. And kind of, a bit of humour in there as well. Then like on your stories, when you're doing your personal stuff, my God, you put some things up and I'm like, I've actually gasped. Like there was the one.
Oh God, I know.
The one I remember, you did a post and it was, I can't remember how you worded it, but it was basically listing all the songs that we're all fed up as videographers.
Oh yeah.
And so you listed listed all these songs that were like basically that we think are crap. But then I was thinking, oh my God, you can guarantee he's got brides that have booked him that have these songs as their first dance. Talk me through that. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I had a message or two. Yeah, it gets people engaging, doesn't it? It got people talking, and I always do really big video calls with couples before a wedding to like plan. Like I'll do like an hour-long video call, just running through a wedding's day and like giving them tips and just talking them through it. And I just talk about everything, and I will talk about first dance. Like that's a big thing, and a lot of people, modern like couples these days, they're so embarrassed about it, and sometimes they just need someone to come along and say, "We'll have a laugh, don't worry, but don't have Ed Sheeran." You know what I mean? Couples need to know like they don't have to have a slow, boring song. Pick something fun. Pick something that you're not going to be embarrassed dancing to, because none of us are ballroom dancers. Like, who really wants to just stand and do that? Let's get everyone riled up, ready for a good night, you know. Like, some couples have had slow songs and it's brilliant, some of them are, but some of the best weddings I've ever been to have been something a bit more upbeat. Like I had one New Year's Eve, not this one just gone, the year before, at Hawkston Hall, unbelievable wedding, and they had Lighthouse Family, is it High or Higher?
Yeah.
High or Higher? And it's one of them songs that you don't really know, but when it comes on, I'm like, oh my God, I know every lyric, I know the chorus. And you're like, yeah. And honestly, songs like that just get everyone going and like having a good time. And first dance just sets that I love how we've gone from social media to me talking about first dancers. I need to rewind a bit here. I'm terrible for this. So yeah, about stories and that. I had a conversation with a videographer friend of mine who does a lot of high-end stuff. And he said I need to stop that. He was like, if I ever want to do really high-end weddings, I need to stop posting videos of my 1-year-old falling asleep in his nappy, spinning around on a green chair, and needed to be maybe a little bit more professional. And I do kind of get it. But at the same time, the sort of competitive nature in me of like, I don't like to be told what's right and wrong. And I'm almost wanting to prove him wrong in a way, in that I'd like to think that some couples, the super high-end, would look at me and go, oh, he's a good guy. He loves his work. He loves his craft. He loves his family. He takes a lot of care with his work, and he's a fun person to be around. Like, he's the type of person I want to come on my wedding day and just be part of it, as well as creating a good product afterwards. I'm just someone they might want to spend the day with, as well as, you know, I'm not just a weirdo with a camera who's going to stand in the corner of a room and not really talk to anyone and make everyone feel awkward.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to have a laugh with people.
And is it a kind of like a process to try and wean out those people that, you know, what people that are on the same level as you in terms of, because you can have people that have got big budgets but want a good laugh as well, right?
I think I accepted that I'm not going to be right for every wedding. Like, my style of work, my personality isn't going to be right for a percentage of weddings that are out there. People look at me and go, our wedding isn't going to be a party, it's just going to be a mellow. I mean, I do get weddings like that, and I do enjoy them. Like, I had a secret elopement recently, which was just, I've never done anything like this. It were, again, at Grantley Hall, and they got in touch and were like, oh, just for two of us, we don't want a big wedding because politically, as family, it'd just be a nightmare getting people together. We've got the groom's having a 30th birthday in October. We just want to get married, and you make a video which we can just put on a projector and be like, look, we did this, and just surprise everyone with it. And I was like, amazing. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wing it. But the day was so beautiful. It was just the three of us, completely opposite to most stuff that goes on my Instagram. But we had a little ceremony, had a little walk around, you know, the gardens, and then we just sat down, we set up some statics, and for about an hour, we just chatted. And I asked him, I was like, where did you first meet? Who said I love you first? And all these different things. And it was just the most natural, beautiful conversation where they just told their story. And then we went back out later on for some nice shots. I left them for a break to have some lunch and that. And then I forced them to do a first dance on this little Love Island. They're like, what, you joking? I went, no, I'm going to put a Bluetooth speaker on. You're going to have a dance. And they were laughing. They were trying to do little dips. And I didn't tell them to do any of that. It was really lovely. So I really enjoyed that. And I would like to do more like that. And not every wedding day is the same. And I would like to think I am quite adaptable in that, you know, you go to some weddings and that bombastic, adventurous approach that I do like to do won't fit that mould. You can't fit a round peg into a square hole. And yeah, you've got to be adaptable as a wedding filmmaker, because sometimes you go to a wedding, it's not how you think it's going to be, and you've got to create a film that reflects that day.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got onto that from socials again, Rube.
No, not me.
I just start talking.
Hi guys, just a quick break from the episode to tell you about some filmmaking products I've developed. The first are Rudogs. These are custom-made wind noise reducers designed for the Sony TX650 and 660 microphones. Rudogs not only help reduce wind noise and heavy breathing sounds, they also make the TXs look a little bit more like microphones and less like vapes. Here's a very unscientific demonstration of their effectiveness. For this test I held two TXs at my office fan at the same time, one with a Rudog on and one without. This is the recording without a Rudog. And this is the one with a Rudog. Without and with. The other product is the Yeti strap. This is a storage solution that can fit up to 6 Sony TXs, and it has a Velcro backing so it can be attached to the inside of most camera bags. It helps keep all your TXs together and stops them getting scratched. All these products are available from my shop, ru-films.com/shop, or follow the link in the description of the podcast. Now back to the episode. What I have noticed is recently on your stories, they've been getting the green circle around it. So you've definitely you've changed
yes.
the target. So you put people in the close friends circuit. So
yes.
are you excluding bride and grooms from that, so that your stories are just going out to other suppliers?
So I'm not going to throw another supplier under the bus, but there is a supplier who posts some really brilliant close friend stuff, but like, you know, like just funny stuff that we might say in like our little closed WhatsApp groups with other videographers, you know, when you're having a bit of a shit day and you're like, we can't put that sort of thing on your story to everyone. So I've just made a close friends list with other suppliers where sometimes you just need to get something off your chest, you know, where you might get a a proper diabolical supplier meal and you're like, oh, what is that? I won't give it to dog. I need to tell someone. So I'll put it on my close friends list now to like other suppliers where we can all just have a bit of a laugh about certain things, but I don't want clients seeing that. But I've seen a few more people do this, and it's a nice way of being able to share certain things without it affecting you as a brand and your image.
It could also be, you could also do the inverse of that, couldn't you? You could set up as close friends, but only set up like the potential brides and stuff. So like you send out more specific kind of like marketing things to them, or exclude your current bride so that if it's things talking about offers and sales and stuff, that you don't necessarily want people that have just booked you to see that you're doing lowering prices or whatever.
You're not spamming other suppliers with like that stuff you want couples to see. Yeah, absolutely. You could set up different groups, you could do all sorts with that, but for me, because I'm just a very immature person, like I love like just sharing funny stuff. It's a nice way for me to get things off my chest and sort of express myself a little bit more freely without it affecting work as such.
Because I thought this was some of the things that's in your post. I thought this must be a strategy because like it's going against everything I've ever been told with social media. What was another one? What was the other, when I said about the post that I remembered, what was the one that you thought I was going to say?
So I've thrown my partner under the bus with a few posts, and I did put one on there, my 1-year-old like leaning over in like a strange position, like almost naked, and I took a picture. I can remember when my partner used to send me pictures like this, or just you know, like really crude stuff. But that it just makes people. I've always been like a bit of an entertainer, like throughout school and like with my friends. I love to make people laugh, and I love to make people smile, and like I get so much enjoyment sending these wedding films off, and like when you get them comments back, you know, the reviews that people leave you, and you know you've done a good job, and obviously we're getting paid, but I get so much, I don't know, wholesome sort of energy from knowing I've delivered this film that people are going to watch and be able to, when they're 60-year-old, they're going to be able to sit and share it with grandchildren in 4K on this big screen. And like, I get so much joy out of that. Yeah. It's just, me as a person, I've always been like a people pleaser. I'd hate to think I'd ever upset someone or offend anyone, or I like to make people happy. It's just one of my sort of key traits, I guess.
I really can't work out if I am like disappointed that it's not a strategy, or if I'm just massively impressed that you're just 100% just being yourself. I'm just, a lot of it is just sort of winging it, and there's no one shoe fits all, is there? You've got to try and find something that fits you as a person, because, you know, I'm very out there. Extroverted, yeah. Like for introverted people, that my way of doing things just won't work for that person because that's not them. Yeah. So it's really hard, and that's probably why I've never really followed many other videographers or people or looked up to and thought I want to do what they're doing as such, because I don't feel like I've had that much relatability to these other people. I felt like I've sort of stood out like a bit like a sore thumb almost, or felt like that way anyway. I get what you mean as well, because I feel like similar to me. I think I always think, do I need to try and tone down my personality? Because I'm quite similar to you. I'm quite extroverted, I guess, to a certain extent. And I always think on Wednesdays, like I go in and think, right, this time I'm the high end supplier. I'm going to be like quiet in the background, just doing my thing. As soon as I get there, I can't out myself. Yeah. I think any awkward silence, I'm trying to film my voice. Absolutely. Like bridal preps, when everyone's having their hair and makeup done, you know, it's not easy for them to have conversations when they're... Yeah. So one thing I do in my pre-wedding calls when I run through the day, I'm like, you need to have a Bluetooth speaker. Like, there's nothing worse going to a bridal prep and there's no music and everything's a bit... But I will go around and I love chatting to everyone, and I'll just tell stories. I'll just try and make people laugh. And I think brides, when they're nervous, if someone comes in and just can make them laugh and make them smile and make them forget, oh, I'm about to walk down the aisle, I feel like it settles them a lot. And I've had a lot of like makeup artists and hairstylists say to me, oh, it's so good when you come in because you do literally see a change in tone in the room. Yeah. In that I come in, I've got a big smile on, I've got energy, I'll walk into a room and I'll just talk to people, make them laugh, and I'll
I'll embarrass myself. I'll sell stories about myself that sort of just makes them laugh and just get the vibe going and try not, I never take myself too seriously. And again, you do have to read a room, and you'll know this, that you'll go to some rooms and you think, my humour's not, I'm not the same person as these people, and today I am going to tone it down, and maybe I'll hold back on a lot of the stories. I'll hold back on my excessive main character syndrome thing, and I'll just be a little bit more documentary because of the room. It's all people reading, it's people skills, it's not being overbearing, it's just finding that balance of, I want them to be happy, I want them to smile, I want them to have a good time, but I don't want to overstep the mark. Yeah, it's just a balancing act, isn't it?
It's so obvious that is the core of your business and the reason of your success as well. You've lent into the kind of in-person connections and let your personality kind of make sure that you're getting those referrals from the, like you said, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say like their main lead source is just directly through their website. It's usually they've got it down to like specific elements of what it's been coming from, but the fact that they're coming direct through you because they're getting given that website address by somebody, aren't they? Because they're saying this is the guy. So that's in-person like recommendations, word of mouth, and that's like a dying thing. But there's no stronger recommendation than word of mouth, is there? If someone tells you, well, I've used this person, they're great, go with them. There's no better recommendation than that.
On a wedding day, I'll be cheeky. Like, if I see someone's engaged, I'm going to go and talk to them. I'm going to be like, hey, if I do a good job today, am I coming to your wedding? Like, and I'll just talk to people. Like, any wedding day you go to, there will be young couples there who will get married. Just go talk to them. Just put a name to a face. But yeah, you can do so much networking on a wedding day. And I'd like to think a lot of people come away from a wedding day going, oh, that Alfie were fun. Not, oh, that videographer did a good video. I like, that Alfie were fun. And I'd like to think that after a wedding day, because I get about everywhere, I talk to everyone, I'm proactive, I'm being involved in everything, I think most people are already thinking, yeah, that video is going to be good.
Yeah.
Without even seeing anything. In their head, they're already expecting a good video. And even if I sent a 7 out of 10 video, they're going to pump that up in their head to an 8 or a 9 out of 10 because they enjoyed having me there on the day and they know I went above and beyond. If you were a bit of a twat on the wedding day or a bit of a diva or just not very relatable and just half-arsed it but went and delivered an unbelievable 10 out of 10 film, I think the couple would still go and try and pick at it then because of how you were on the day. They'd be like, well, maybe on that shot there, we're not really smiling, because I think if they get on with you, you're going to have less issues down the line when it comes to like any changes to films and stuff like that. And
I think people's perceptions of films as well is very, like, we obviously critique our films and then we see others and we kind of critique that as well and we compare and contrast. And probably what we see is the levels of different ability. I don't think our couples do, because our couples it's the one time in their life where they're looking for a videographer usually. So they've not really, this is the first time they've ever looked at wedding films. They probably don't really know the differences as much as we do. And they base it on personality and price will be like the main two things that they focus on.
Probably something we touched on earlier is that I think a lot of people book photographers and videographers based on the weddings that they've shot rather than the quality of the work. So like we were saying about these high-end people who, when we look at them as a videographer and really going intrinsically into the detail about, you might, oh, the shutter cranking. Why the shutter cranking? And they've charged $8,000 to do this wedding. But people are looking at the wedding, a supermodel couple. Like, you look at like the Ben Wheeler weddings that he goes to. Like, I could send a 7-year-old with a camera to those weddings and they'd come away with good shots. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where I'm going with this, Roo. I'll be totally honest. Totally lost track of thought. But yeah, when couples are looking to book someone, they are looking at, I'd like to think
they want to see themselves in the work that's been shown, like kind of have a connection. So they're like a wedding that's similar to how they envision their wedding to be, rather than they're not worried about kind of exposure adjustments, shutter speeds, things have been shot at, that kind of stuff. No,
you've got to capture it. You've just got to capture moments, haven't you, at the time. And sometimes, you might not have the right settings or you're ending. You've just got to capture stuff.
But let's go into that. Let's go into your shooting style, because let me kind of break down about your work that I see. So kind of very high energy, and you lean into the handheld Whereas kind of like, say, someone like me, I'm handheld, but I'm trying my best to be as still as possible. I feel like you want to be quite immersive with your work. So you're kind of getting in close handheld, and you don't mind having like a bit of a pan or of a whip in there every now and again. Obviously, like for your dancing work is phenomenal. Absolutely love how you capture the dance floor.
Thank you.
But then also I see that kind of movement, not to the same extent, but throughout the day itself, there's a bit of kind of like this floating camera, I'd kind of say. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah.
Talk me through kind of like your philosophy on shooting, and also how you are physically then doing it in terms of.
When I first started learning cameras, my first paid jobs were all nightclubs and festivals, similar to Dan Made to Last, Ben Beluga. We all sort of learn how to use a camera in a nightclub, which is a baptism of fire, because there's not a harder environment to learn camera settings, because zero natural light, pitch black, and then you've got these moving, high-powered, intense moving heads moving all over, strobe lights, pyrotechnics. You fire up a flame in a dark room, trying to get your exposure right, and you've got a fraction of a second to capture it before it stops and it's gone. There is no harder place to learn to use a camera, and it really does set you up well for a career. Yeah, so I've always felt really at home on a busy, packed dance floor where at any point someone might swill you with a drink. So when it came into doing weddings, at the time when I was doing it, I think that's when everyone were kind of getting obsessed with the Philip White course. That were massively popular with videographers. So that were like handheld, not handheld, sorry, monopod, static, 85mm, very desaturated colours. And I was watching these videos, I'm like, this is boring the life out of me. This looks like a bloody funeral video. Compared to, what I was used to, like the nightclub stuff, and seeing, can you remember seeing the Tomorrowland videos from Belgium of these like amazing colours, and these videos were explosive and vibrant and fun. You seen everyone like celebrating and having a good time. And that was like the industry I sort of grew up in. And then I sort of started doing weddings in my own way, from the sort of nightclub way, but then everyone else were doing this Philip White style, and I'm like, oh, that's completely different to mine. And that almost made me push me even further away from that style. I mean, I always justified it to myself, because like, wedding days are fun days. Like, if you were watching a film, or obsessed with films, these sort of desaturated colours would be for sad moments, or sad films, or dramas, not fun days. Like, fun days should be vibrant in colour. A sad moment in a film's coming up because it's dark and it's dull and it's raining. I don't want my wedding films to be dark, dull, miserable, silhouettes at windows. I want my days to be like a Pixar film, like just fun, like colourful, energetic. I want people, when they're watching these films back, I want these colours to like make you happy. I want you to look back and go, oh, wow, my day were really fun and vibrant, a good memory. So movement-wise.
So what are you shooting on? What cameras are you using?
Before lockdown, when I got that FS5, and I had an FS5, big 7-inch Shogun Inferno Atomos recorder on like a big rig like this, shoulder mount a lot, top handle so I could move around like this. And then I had an A7 III on a gimbal. Honestly, that FS5 were a nightmare. I mean, the quality were incredible. Like, nothing else could do 4K 10-bit at like 50 frames, and you could do like a burst mode at 100 frames for like certain shots. There was nothing on the market like that. Internal ND as well. Oh God, that was so good. Yeah, it was a fantastic camera, but just not right for weddings. Like, not right for me for weddings anyway. So literally, I've had the same equipment now since lockdown. I've just got two A7 IIIs still, which I use for statics, which I've had for about 8 years. Something
and they've got a 30-minute limit on them, haven't they?
Yeah, sometimes I've had to like run around, stop, start. Yeah, I do need to upgrade them. And then just one A7S III, which is my main body, which I always have on me. So equipment-wise, I'm really lightweight now, and I like it like that. Like my A7S III, which I have on me, got a cage on it, a side handle, that's it. I don't use a monitor, don't use anything. I don't use anything that could slow me down for when I'm sort of moving about, or just make me look more of a videographer. I want to be incognito in that way, where I can just get it on and record without people noticing.
What lens are you using on that for your main camera?
So I've got a few different lenses, Sigma Arts, but I use the 35 1.2 pretty much all day, apart from ceremony, when I just bang the 24-70 on, just so I can punch in and out and get the shots, because sometimes you're restricted with your positioning. But no, keep the 35 1.2 on all day.
Shooting at 1.2?
I mix it in and out. I did have a year the first year after COVID where I used an anamorphic lens, this bad boy here.
You and Dan are the same person. Dan made to last.
Well, I were using this when Dan were doing the photos for me, and I always used to bang on about it. So he started using them. Dan told me that the Lawsons saw my anamorphic work, and that influenced them to use anamorphic and give it a try. And Dan started using it as well. But mate, I could talk for hours about this as well. I won't go into that right now because honestly, that could be another podcast in itself, just anamorphics, which I love, but there's certain restricting factors which meant my decision to go. So last year was just the 35-1.2 were my main lens, and I loved it. The year before, I just used the 24-70. I got lazy. I was using it because it's just an easy lens to use. You can just get all the shots you need. But then I had a styled shoot, and I tried the 35. And I'm like, oh my God, the image from this looks so much nicer. Like, you open it wide at 1.2, it's still so sharp. The subjects just pop. And I think for couples just looking at work, if they see a shot at 1.2, they're like, yeah, that was shot on a proper camera, that was shot on a professional camera. If I see something at f8, it just doesn't, you could almost say it looks like a mobile phone shot because everything's in focus. Like, that's one distinguishing element where someone who doesn't really know about cameras can look at it and go, yeah, that was shot on a good camera, that was shot properly.
And how come it's 35 you've gone for? Because that's usually like the focal length that photographers go for, isn't it? You have to be very close to get a nice composition with that. And is that part of it?
Well, I think just from this, you can probably see that I love to be close. I love to chat to people. I love to be in the mixer. Like when there's a dance floor, I love to jump straight in the middle. I'll dance with people and like have a camera and I'll dance with them while my camera's pointing at them. So I do use my gimbal quite a lot. I was thinking last night in bed, like, why I do certain things, and I can remember, you know, the original Beauty and the Beast, the cartoon, the Disney cartoon, when they dance together in the ballroom and the camera sweeps down and across the dance floor like a big sweeping shot, and I love that sort of shot. Like, so when a couple are doing a first dance, gimbal and just like sweep and orbit round them. I love that sort of majestic shot. I do use, so I'm handheld pretty much all day. Apart from, I'll bang the camera onto the gimbal for confetti, walking backwards, exiting the ceremony as well. Room shots, I'll use a gimbal just to sort of pan around.
And is this all with your A cam on it, like your A7S III?
Yeah, my A7. Yeah. So that's, I keep that lightweight so I can just bob it on and off the gimbal when I need to.
Yeah.
But one of my main things, like with movement, I did a lot of research into this. So one thing that really pisses me off when I'm watching someone else's video is that the opening drone shot will be moving away from the venue. And I'm like, oh, are we leaving already? Is the film finished? Like your opening shots, like with movement has to be there for a reason. And like your opening drone shot should be going towards the venue. We're going into the venue. We're not leaving it. We should be going towards it. And all my shots, so when I'm doing handheld stuff, like earlier on in the day where it's not like dance floor, like bang, bang, I do everything left to right. So the reason left to right is that we read left to right. So when you're seeing shots that are left to right, in our head, it works. And when you've got 5 shots in a row that are left to right, it's almost like the flow from one shot to the other.
So you mean you're panning left to right?
Yeah, kind of. So I tuck in like this, and I'll put all my weight on my left leg, and I'm almost doing the movement of a slider, just that.
Right, okay.
Just subtly, just like that.
So you're leaning from, because I'm going to describe this because it's a podcast, so you're leaning on your left leg and then you move over to your right, so you kind of a horizontal kind of sliding position. Yeah,
shifting my weight from my left leg to right, and sometimes I'll keep going to the point where I almost fall over. But I love a shot of like going near a door frame and having like the door frame half in your frame and then doing that left to right movement to almost reveal the room. That's like a nice easy shot. Or, you know, if it's a drinks reception, get half your frame behind a bush, left to right, revealing. I like a reveal shot. And then it's a bit easier when you're on a gimbal where you can just sort of, like when I'm filming details, everything's left to right motion. I mean, you can't always do left to right. Sometimes I'll throw a right to left in there because I'm a maverick.
So you're looking to put a bit of movement in most shots though, are you? Just to give that sense of flow?
Yeah, just always sort of left to right. I always have that in my head.
And what about stabilization then? Because like quite often stabilization can be fighting against that. What stabilized mode do you use in the A7S III? Are you using the active or?
I don't use the active, just for standard one.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just got really bloody good at, tucking in, holding it tight, and I always take a deep breath. Like I've played a lot of Call of Duty, and I know when you're about to take that sniper shot, you need to hold your breath. But honestly, taking a deep breath and exhaling once you've pressed record, doing that left to right movement and exhaling, just like that. Honestly, it steadies it so much. I mean, it's very rare I have to use like warp stabilizer, but it's just training yourself.
I noticed one of your ceremony films, I think it might have been the Chateau Regard one, where it felt like you were handheld during the ceremony as well, when you were getting like the vow shots. Yeah,
absolutely. So so for ceremonies, I set up my 2 statics, 2 A7 threes, one at the back, one at the front. Like, to be honest, with the ceremony and speeches videos that I do, they are so basic. Like, anything that doesn't go on my Instagram is really pretty basic. Like, I don't understand why someone would set up like all these multi-camera angles to do this amazing multi-angle ceremony video. Because no one sees them. They don't go on Instagram anywhere. And, no one shares them anywhere. You're not getting booked based off of the back of doing these amazing 10-angle things. So them videos are really bloody basic. I'll set them 2 cameras up and I'll just roam around during ceremony with my handheld and just go around getting shots, getting reaction shots, getting different angles, because I never, in my main videos, my feature films, you don't want to cut from one angle to like this another shot which is from the same angle. So when they're doing vows, I'll get a shot from the groom side, I'll walk, get one from the bride side. I'm obviously not disturbing too much, as long as I can move a little bit, but that's 24/7 you can come in where you can punch in a little bit.
And so on your delivery, so your ceremony film that you delivered, if you're moving around on that, so you cutting back to those wide angles quite a lot during that ceremony film?
Yeah, just cut them backwards and forwards between them 2. Yeah, because people have never come back to me and said, I wish you'd have done a bit more angles on that ceremony film.
Yeah,
but,
it's true.
Most weddings that we do, it's like 10 minutes.
Like if you look in your VidFlow stats, quite often the ceremony is like watch 5 times max or something, and then and that's probably me just checking it's all right when I've uploaded it.
I've tried to put all my time into what's going to be at the front and centre.
Yeah.
Most of my stuff is pretty basic and run of the mill and nothing to brag about. But where I do put my time into is what goes onto the Instagram, what people are going to see. And I mean, sometimes I do think, oh God, I hope people don't see this amazing wedding at the Chateau Regard or whatever and see this explosive wedding. And then I deliver this wedding film and, their day wasn't that. But end of the day, you can only shoot what's in front of you. And as long as you're capturing all the moments on the day, people are going to love it regardless. I think we overthink stuff too much, don't we, sometimes?
Definitely. And frame rate wise, how are you shooting a day? Are you shooting like 50 all day or?
Yeah, everything's got to be S-Log free. I don't understand why anyone wouldn't shoot S-Log free, because it, like, once you've got your zebras set up so to show your overexposed areas, like, I don't use a monitor, I just use the gamma assisting camera, got my zebras set up, and I'll just push the exposure as high as it'll go. As soon as I see zebras, just bring it down a bit. Yeah, you're going to get zebras near windows and stuff like that, which is expected. But I won't shoot anything between the ISO of like maybe 4000 to 12.8 because you've got a dual base. So once you get to 4, I'll pump it up, bang an ND on.
That's the thing though, it's that stops people, because it's like this whole other element that they feel they've got to learn and they're worried about getting noisy footage. But the truth is, like, the noise only really shows up in really dark shots, doesn't it? So like putting the gamut assist on for me, for log, was just like, I'll just shoot it like I always did. I don't even worry about overexposing, I'll just shoot it as it looks.
Well, on the A7 Freeze, when you're S-Log 2, you needed to overexpose because your shadows were grainy as hell and you had to crush them shadows. The A7S Freeze are brilliant. They don't. I have found that if you do still try and push it a bit higher and bring it down in post, you do get slightly better contrast. But, they're just bloody brilliant cameras out there. Like, most dance floors, I'll shoot at like 50k ISO. And obviously no one's ever picked up and gone, oh, they're grainy. I mean, I had like a grain overlay anyway onto my films as well. So yeah, they're just brilliant cameras. But yeah, S-Log free. I can't remember the other, like the S-Gamut Cines and all that kind of stuff. But frame rates, yeah, sorry. So I was thinking about this last night because I do pretty much the full day at 50. And I was thinking, do you know what? I could probably just do 25 for the bridal prep and it'd be fine. But yeah, shoot the full day at 50. Apart from confetti, I'll chuck at 100 frames. Or if I do like a bottle spray, I might do about 100 as well.
Yeah.
But everything else is just 50, to be honest.
And are you using NDs?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely NDs. Keep the shutter at the 180 degree rule. Honestly, there's nothing more jarring, is there, than, especially with my videos with a lot of movement, I think you can get away if you're doing static shots, cranking the shutter, because you're not panning the camera and seeing that jarring movement. Whereas with mine, because I'm moving, you have to have the shutter speed at the right, the right setting.
I mean, I shoot, these days, I do shoot like S-Log, and I only started using an ND because of S-Log, basically, so I could keep within those base ISOs.
Yeah.
And I can use that. But I was one for like, crank the shutter if you need to, absolutely, and I still do to a certain extent. Yeah. But then I'm trying to be still a lot, but I imagine with your style, it just wouldn't fly. That motion blur would look odd, like totally odd.
Yeah, it'd just be nauseating, I think. But like S-Log as well, like, I don't know why people don't shoot S-Log, because you've got your camera assist and it's just as easy, you just drop a LUT on. It's fine. Any videographers listening to this, just practice shooting S-Log, shoot some family bits, find the right LUT where you can just do a correction from S-Log to Rec 709. Bob's your uncle. It's that easy. Like, I don't get why you wouldn't, and it gives you the most dynamic range. You can pull it backwards and forwards, sort your correction out so much better than. You've got this amazing camera, you need to capture as much as you can in there.
Absolutely. I'm going to put together a little video on shooting S-Log, because every video I've ever watched about S-Log, they still overcomplicated it. And in the end, I just thought, I'm just going to shoot it, and I'm going to break it down into the basic elements, and it is absolutely so straightforward. It's no fear to be had from it.
I've seen some other videographers, like ones who I thought were like really, up there, not be shooting S-Log or not be shooting 10-bit or tell people bad advice, like, or shooting this other profile because it's better. I'm like, no, just shoot S-Log. It's the best. And it's easy. Once you know what you're doing, like if you've got your zebras on, you've got camera assist, use a monitor if you're struggling that much, but...
Just need to know your base ISOs and know when you need to jump up to the next one. That's the only thing. That was the only bit for me. Other than that, I'm just looking at the screen and taking it from that. I want to go a bit into your editing process at the minute, because the amount of weddings you're shooting and you're doing all the editing yourself, how on earth are you doing that? And are all your weddings, like all your video weddings, are they all having like the longer feature film and a shorter film as well? So it's just one package basically.
Well, up until this point, until the packages, when I changed them in January, before then weddings start filtering through.
So what's the strategy then for getting through that amount of weddings in a timely manner?
It begins with shooting the right way and shooting exactly what you need. Like, obviously I've had a few different associates over the years, like shoot different bits for me. And there was one particular one, great guy, great videographer, but he would shoot like the cake 6 times. And he'd have a zoom lens on and he'd shoot a bit and go, actually, shot would look a bit nicer if I punched in a bit. So click record, recorded for a second, punched in. So when I'm editing it, I'm like, I'll set that up there. I've got to trim that bit now. And then it's about getting your shot perfect, pressing record, knowing that I've already started my left to right movement before I've pressed record, so that when I'm editing, it's a matter of just dragging that clip onto the next point, pressing spacebar, stopping it in time to the music, dragging the next clip, cutting it. I don't even delete the last bit. I just drag it over. It's just dragging the next one, dragging the next one, dragging the next clip. And it's not overshooting. So most weddings that I go to, even though I'm shooting 4K, 50, 10-bit, got 2 statics, got all my audio, got drones, each wedding on average is about 150 gig.
Right. So how many clips of B-roll are you usually coming back with from each wedding?
Good question. I'll have a check, for you now. We'll go live. Let me just go on. That Chateau Regal one, that was like a really intense day. A7S3, so this is my main cam. Less than 300 clips.
Right, okay, wow.
And that's for a banger.
But how long are your clips? Are you taking long takes?
They're about 4 and 5 seconds, most clips. Yeah, normally between 200 and 300 clips on a day. I actually got worried once because I was importing and I had 5 shots in a row and they all had the same file size. And that's just because I'm so, muscle memory. Start my left to right, press record, get the shot, stop.
Mine the same, yeah. It might be something like 64 megabytes or something. I can't remember. It was probably different with 4K now.
But I was really worried. I thought they were corrupted, but it was just because muscle memory is just stop the exact same period of time.
Yeah.
So most of the day is just 4-second shots, 4-5-second clips, which I can then just, when I'm editing, it's just next one, just do it to the beat of music and stuff. It's not overshooting, it's knowing when you've got enough. Like when you're at a drinks reception, you shoot a few shots, you get what you need, you get a few shots of different angles and that, you're like, right, I've got enough. I'll go disappear for 10 minutes, I'll go into room, I'll go chat to some other suppliers and do a bit more networking for me.
And then what happens then? Like, so when you're building your edits, so are you laying down your audio bits first, your multicams first?
Yeah, I have like a template. So first things first, get all my clips in a folder. So I'm Premiere Pro. Adjustment layer. My adjustment layer's got like my Lumetri color where I've got the correction LUT, the sort of S-Log to Rec 709. Then I've got a creative LUT on top of that. I've got a few different creative LUTs depending on the weather of the wedding day. I use a different one if it were like a bright outdoorsy one to if it were a bit more of a dull day.
Yeah.
And then just start building from there really. I'll sort of drag all my clips, well, half of the clips from the day, I'll sort of edit up until sort of end of ceremony. So I'll get all my clips on the timeline from the up to the ceremony and I'll just group them on the timeline. And then I'll just work through them, just like that, just one after the other, just dragging them along, just putting it to the music and stuff.
So you've got a template for the music, the music's already templated and down then, is it, kind of thing?
Yeah, I'll just chuck some songs on there. Yeah, and just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, to me, it's really basic. There's no like secret to it.
How long does it take you to do like your feature films?
If I didn't have the kids coming in, annoying me in the garage at any point, if I sat down in the morning after school run 9-10 o'clock and stayed in most of it, I could get it done in a day easy, like the highlights film, the feature film, speeches, ceremony highlights. I could get it all topped off in a day, definitely.
Well, all of it, like including highlights as well?
Yeah, everything in a day, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
It all comes, the main thing is just, it's shooting on the day what you need and not overshooting.
But even so, like having to like sync your multicams and go watch through them and cut them.
But again, the multicam stuff is really basic. It is basic. I just sync it all. Like with speeches, for example, I've got like a really close-up angle on the person and a wide shot of the sort of top table. And I'll just do a minute, cut to the next angle, minute, cut to the other, and just do it like that. Because
are you just two angles then, are you, for the speeches?
Yeah, just 2 angles for speeches, 2 angles for ceremony. So like I said, just super basic. But again, no one's booking you on those videos. When people are watching them back, are they actually appreciating all these different angles? It's, most ceremonies that I do are just 10 minutes registrar doing the in and out thing, done. Maybe it's the clients that I attract. Maybe because of the way I advertise myself, I aren't getting the clients that look for that anyway, possibly. Yeah. But just the way the world is now, you're getting booked on your Instagram. Like, there's people who have just entered our industry, they've done a few workshops, and they're getting bookings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen some people get amazing bookings. They've only been going 2 years. I've seen people bosh out a few workshops on Instagram, and they've got a $5,000 booking at Lake Como. I'm like, how's that work? We need to think about where we actually are spending our time. And for me, it's just making the Instagram content, making that action-packed stuff that's just gonna, almost like TikTok material, in that it's gonna grab people. I'd love to know how many people who have actually booked me have actually gone and watched a full feature film. I
was having this conversation with some filmmakers recently, and I think we're all under the agreement that we're booked on those first 10 seconds of our films pretty much. I've had conversations with people after, and you can totally tell like they've definitely not watched the whole film, because they're asking me questions. You're thinking, if you watch any one of my films, you'd know that. They say, do you include the speeches through the films?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to waste my time doing that anymore. If that's what they're booking me on, I want that to be the best it can be. I mean, same with photographers. I wonder how many wedding photographers get booked by people who don't go and actually look at a full album and just book them off of what they see on Instagram.
I need to quiz you on getting a whole delivery done in a day, because I just can't imagine. So your feature films, are they like templated, as in you've got like prep, ceremony, party, reception kind of thing?
I think because I shoot, I've got it in my head, like the template of the day. It's almost like muscle memory that I know when I've shot enough. I just go through the motions on a day and shoot the right amount, I guess, on each part. I know that like all the bridal prep's going to fit the right section in terms of timing. I know I shoot the same thing. You just get in maybe an autopilot of, you can do it without, even thinking, you could do it one arm tied behind your back. You want to shoot exactly what you need. Like, I find it easy to talk about if it were a photographer. Like, so when I were doing photography, on a good wedding day, I might shoot nearly 3,000 pictures and deliver 1,000.
Yeah.
Whereas some photographers are shooting 15,000 pictures on a wedding day. I'm like, are you fucking mad? How long is it going to take you to edit all that? Like, some photographers will go around on burst mode and just burst everything and get like 100 pictures of a candid. I'm like, look, mate, I'm going to walk up, I'm going to click it and get a shot. If they blink at that shot, no one's going to miss that shot not being there. And I've took that same approach to video in that I'm going to shoot just what I need. If 1 or 2 shots throughout the day are a bit meh, they're going to be shots that people aren't bothered about. Yeah. If it's one of the key moments, I'm getting it, obviously. But, like candids, I'll go around, get some candids. If 1 or 2 candids have to go in the bin, it don't matter. No one's missing that shot of Auntie Susan having a drink of Prosecco or whatever. Just get your shot and move on.
I get that totally, but that doesn't necessarily make it easier for you when you're building the edit though, right? Because like you still got to like create a song, you then got to go through, pick bits of your speeches. So for example,
how boring is it listening back through speeches and picking the best parts out sometimes?
It is hard, isn't it?
That is the worst job.
But best men, you always know, just go to the end of the best men. Don't even listen to the rest of it. Just the last thing they say is the only bit worth taking.
But like what you've just said there, sometimes when when you've been to weddings over a couple of years, you start to learn where to get the good bits from. Like for speeches, for example, you can skim, like same with groom's speech. Normally they'll go, right, now, the last 5 minutes, now on to the main event, the bride. Not to even listen to that first bit. You can just go straight to that. You just jump to stuff. And maybe because, I'm a full computer nerd. Like, I occasionally did games design at uni. I like my computer that I work from, I built from scratch. I've always been a gamer. Like, my hand-eye coordination from playing games and, shooters and stuff. When I'm working, like, I get in that game mode. Right. Like you do when you're on FIFA and you're like penalty shooter and you're on edge of the seat like this. I get in a similar mode for when I'm working.
You get into the flow state.
Yeah, you just get in there and you just like, I think because if you saw when I'm moving like my mouse across and just going, you'd be like, bloody hell, he's going at some right pace, this lad.
Yeah.
Yeah, just years of gaming's probably helped me in that you can move things around a timeline quick.
But are you doing the same things every time? So you laying your music down first and then is it a case of your A-roll comes in from your speech in the ceremony or?
Yeah, like that. You get your song and then you just bob along. And then once you get near end of song and you transition into like a new scene, for example, you try it. Like, it's weird that I literally shoot almost the right, perfect amount to fit to the songs and the music that my template is.
Yeah.
I've just fell into that position where I always sort of finish off the bridal prep shots before the ceremony at the perfect time without even trying. It's just because I've got into that rhythm of shooting exactly what I need. Most of it just comes from what you shoot on the day, making sure that when you're editing that, you don't want to be editing something where you've punched in with a zoom lens. Like, this is why I think using primes really helps. Like, the lad who did these shots for me, when he was punching in like mid-shot, I'm like, oh, and then you've got to like go and cut and drag it again. He went to using primes again, and he was like, Alfie, that has made life so much easier. I never realised how much time I wasted. Because, sometimes you might get a 7 out of 10 shot and you think, if I'd have punched in a little bit or took a step closer, it might have been a 7.5 out of 10 shot. Don't bloody matter, just get the 7 out of 10 shot. Yeah. If it's of a cake or something like that, it's not a money shot. Just get a shot, it doesn't matter. Move on to the next, go get something else.
So is your template for your feature films the same for all your films then? Do you do the same one over and over again, or is there like variations of it?
To be fair, I found myself using all the same music this year, just out of a bit of laziness.
Well, or survival, when you've got like...
That, yeah, exactly. If it's not going on Instagram, if it's not something I'm going to share publicly, just use the same songs.
Because if they work for certain moments of the day, then they're going to work across the board but then when you do your shorter film, I guess that's where all that creativity comes in.
That's where because the long films aren't for me. They're just something I'm sending for the couple. It's a long chronological thing. The short films are me. That's me. That's my style, my edit, And that's where I get creative.
So let's go into that then. So all the short films I've seen of yours, like I say, you're doing that hype sandwich. You've got that kind of like fast montage at the start, but then you do an outro, which is very similar as well. Do you start with those parts? Are you editing that kind of intro first?
The intro will be the last thing I do on there, because I'll make the film, and then again, I know where all the best bits are. Yeah. I can pick all the best bits and just throw them to the front, put my music on there, and then just chop it all up to the beat of the music for that intro. Yes. So it's always the longest bit first, so you know where all the good bits are to make the short bit.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, yeah, because that's how the films play out. The middle section is very much like, in terms of structure,
the mushy bit.
Yeah.
The dialogue, the narrative.
Yeah, it's very similar to what you see from most people. But like you said before, your chronological order just kind of, you do dance around within time. It's not chronological, is it? It's kind of dancing around in space and time. The outro as well, are you doing that on most of the films as well, where you get is it the same, are you taking the same song from the intro to put on as the outro? Do you do that afterwards as well? Yeah,
just so it's not a bit jarring when you've got different genres or different songs or whatever like that. Because again, like I said, my inspiration was from like the movie trailers, where they've done it, where they just do like a 10-second trailer of the trailer.
And how were you picking that song for the intro? Because obviously, for the ones I've seen, you've used like kind of popular tracks. Is it just things that you've heard and
whatever I hear, whatever I see?
So you're not looking for anything trending on like socials to use, or?
I'd rather pick something that I want people to go, oh yeah, that really works, and not just go for like a trending song. Like, I can make that song you were on about earlier, the Hans Zimmer version of Bastille. Like, I saw Russell Kent Nichols use it on a video not long after me. I was like, I beat you, fucker. I got there first. But it's like, whenever I hear like a song like the Deadpool one, that Like a Prayer, what a tune. That it fits so well in the film on Deadpool, and it's such a good part of the film. I'm like, I need to be the first one to use this in a video somewhere or on a reel, or I can't, if someone else does a wedding reel to this, I'll be fuming that I didn't get there first.
I love that structure, and it's definitely something I want to look in my work, because I think that's something I want to lean into, the kind of the high energy, the excitement, something that kind of reflects my personality as a filmmaker, rather than kind of like, I mean, I think my work it's not necessarily somber. I always try and be a bit more uplifting, but I love how your film has just got such an impact right from the start.
Oh, cheers.
It's so interesting hearing about, I mean, you're a massively successful business, and it's so interesting that you've really lent into the kind of in-person networking to kind of like grow that business. It's so different to what we're used to. Obviously, you're using your Instagram as well as part of that, but it's very much you getting yourself in front of people is what is growing the business, isn't it?
Yeah. I think maybe because I've not took anyone who wants to get into weddings now, you've got workshops, you've got really good resources, I think the industry as a whole is a lot more community based now, where people second shoot and let second shooters use images for socials and stuff like that in different ways. But I never had any of that, because I was doing the nightclub stuff, I was doing a bit of all sorts, and I never thought, right, I'm going to get into weddings. I just started getting asked to do them. Like, I'd done like a video of like my little boy, put it online, and I wouldn't say it went viral or anything like that, but it got a lot of likes, and I got a few wedding bookings off of the back of it. And I was just like going along to them and just doing my thing. I'd never even looked at other wedding films as such. So I'd never really had anyone to influence me at all. I'd just sort of done it my way, I guess. So I've probably been unconventional in that, like, I guess if you're getting into it and you're doing workshops and you're second shooting and you sort of looking up to people and you're shadowing like the main shooter to see what they do and sort of copy bits, you're going to fall into their way of working. But I just didn't do that, I guess.
And that leads me on to my kind of like final question, mate. This is a question I ask everybody. What was the biggest light bulb moment in your career so far, when something suddenly made sense and helped you progress and find the path that you wanted to take?
I mean, when I got that 1 week's notice from the concrete factory place, that were a bloody light bulb moment. At the time, I had a lot in the planner and stuff. I have a nightclub stuff every week, which were paying good money. So I had like a steady thing there throughout the winter. But at the time, we'd only moved into his house a month. Like, just started mortgage, little baby, and I'd got this 1 week notice, and I was going to lose a job which was 60 hours a week, like 600 quid a week, good money. And I was devastated, I was gutted, but I never had the guts to have cut that off and make the leap into self-employment myself. But that thrust me into it, and that were a moment, and this was in October, and then all of a sudden I had Monday to Friday free to invest into Instagram, socials, get all my editing done, and look to get more work in by doing socials, tagging venues, and really put more energy into that. And it probably the beginning of the year after, like the February, March, and I was looking at my plan, I was going, bloody hell, I've got a full calendar here. I've got a few destinations, I've got all these different bits to look forward to. And that was like a really special moment. But last year gone, when I had that sort of bit of a down moment where I felt a bit shitty about sort of the industry as a whole and being a bit gutted that I'm not doing Lake Como every week. But just having a conversation with Ben, he sort of put everything into perspective, and I think you can't undervalue surrounding yourself with other great people in this industry. Like, a lot of it is really nomadic, and you are on your own a lot. You're on a computer screen a lot of time on your own, and just having like a little WhatsApp group with some other people in has been amazing for me. Like, being able to just get stuff off your chest sometimes and let them come back to you and let you know you're not alone. There's other people. We're all in the same industry, and you know, like what you're doing with this and like the community stuff is brilliant, and letting people network and get together. And like, I've done a few socials now, like going out and having a drink with other videographers, and I've had the fucking best time ever. It's been brilliant just to sort of put the industry to the sword and chat about things. And yeah, over the last 12 months, just for networking things and meeting other photographers, other videographers, that has been incredible. I can't put a price on that. It's been brilliant, really.
Yeah.
Not so much a light bulb moment, but it's been amazing.
And a key part of the progressing in this business. And that's what that's why I built Coda, because I believed so much in that. And I had great kind of community of filmmakers around me, and I wanted to build that for the wider community. So we can all get better together. We can all learn from each other. We can raise the bar, British wedding filmmaking.
Yeah, raising the value of our industry is a key one. And that one thing when I first started doing weddings, I straight away, when I was getting busy, I wanted to contact all the other local people, and like, I wouldn't say it was called price fixing as such, but like, you know, like we were all like, well, what's everyone charging? I love to talk about money with people as well. What's everyone charging? Like, well, if I think someone's undervaluing themselves, like, no, you need to get them prices up, mate. Like, this person's charging this, I'm charging that. You're underselling yourself. I mean, you could be just 100 quid less than us if you want, rather than £1,000 less than us, if you want to still like undercut us. But, you know, get yourself in that conversation. We need to lift the value of what we're doing, because it all benefits us in the long term, doesn't it?
Literally, working together, community will grow you faster than, like, what's the phrase? Like, alone you go quicker, but together you go further. And it's so true. By working together, we'll be able to literally fly. I think Mia may have put it in her presentation at Coda, actually. But yeah, together we will get further. And I'm loving that's what's happening with the community in general for the filmmakers. Everybody is kind of helping each other, and we're helping thrive. But Alfie, mate, thank you so much for your time today. I know I've kept you,
been a pleasure, mate.
You've probably got a massive edit queue you need to be tucking into, so I really appreciate you spending the time with us.
It's been nice to not think about it for a few hours, to be honest.
So where can people find you, Alfie? Where's the best places?
Probably in garage editing most of the time, mate. No, so Clique Visuals. So my business name is Clique Visuals. Clique as in CLIQUE Visuals. Instagram, Clique_visuals. Website, cliquevisuals.co.uk, I think. It's not .com, it's .co.uk. Yeah, I was like, is it? Yeah, it's .co.uk. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. I do post a lot of funny stuff. If you're a supplier, I'll add you to my close friend stuff, so I can send you some tasty stuff as well. not for couples or clients.
Love to hear it. Thank you so much, Alfie.
No, pleasure, mate.